Hello, imbecile.
Hello.
Hello, guys. Oi.
Hello, everybody.
Hello!
Hello.
All rise and like, subscribe, and bang the gavel, baby.
There it is. All rise. Court is in session for a Friday, and we're starting out in what is it? Grace? I don't remember. Anyways, we got a case. Chases and cases 5 days a week, 2 hours. It's gonna fly by just like that. We're gonna start off with some live stuff. Gray Harbor, I think it's called. It's
Judge
Officer.
Paul.
Yes,
Presiding. Put Paul was in the extra room in the house.
Paul coming up. And officer testimonial stuff, like whatever you call it. I agree with you, Mike. You're always good.
Anytime you have an officer testifying,
Yeah.
it always brings a little extra something.
And whenever Andrea's around, she makes up for Lisa not being here.
That took place custodial.
I thought that was Avril Lavigne.
Understood. Did there come a time when you ever advised the defendant of his Miranda rights?
So in the interview room, I had a written statement, and on the Montana Police Department statement forms, your Miranda rights are right at the top of the form.
Understood. Do you
So
recall
that's
if
a
you
no.
read that form to the defendant?
Generally speaking, every time I give somebody a statement, I read that to them, yes, and then I also give them the opportunity to read it, which I know he did. I gave him before.
Generally.
How do you know that he read the form?
Well, okay, I don't know that he read the form. I placed the form in front of him.
Uh-oh.
Get him, Grip.
And you had read the form to him prior to placing the form in front of him?
Right.
Did you ask questions of the defendant
Hi, Val.
in this custodial setting?
Hey.
Terminator.
I did.
And did the defendant make any statements during the course of that interview?
He said, huh? And what?
Well, I'm looking at my report right here.
Oh, you're not shopping for belt buckles,
Your
you
Honor,
mean?
I noticed the officer object. The officer is reviewing his report. I'm asking that he could testify from memory.
Val, I have no idea. We're
necessary. He can review the report.
Okay.
jumping in live with Paw Paw.
Officer Nelson, the question to you is whether statements were made, not for you.
The questioning if he read his rights to him properly.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Going for improper arrest, maybe?
Loud, is that a joke from the chase earlier, I believe?
In the course of your interview with
Yes, that is it.
the defendant, did you pull out your Miranda card and read from that card?
Did you pull your willy out, did you, Elliot?
Elliot, what'd you show them?
Did the defendant
Hi, Crystal.
I wouldn't have pulled my card out because it was on the statement form.
Oh, sorry.
understood?
No, I was
You said
fully
that
dressed,
the
flush
form,
for the occasion.
was type of
For
written
Zoom court.
statement. Could you explain that?
So we have just the Montana Police Department statement form. At the top, it's got a box
I slept
for
till
your
11.
information, and then below that, it's a
I got up
box
at
that
7:30.
says Miranda rights, and there's places for them to initial that they've read those rights and they acknowledge those rights. And then there's an additional box for juveniles, and then there's a box where you put the written statement.
Spot check news.
At what point in the interview did
Welcome.
you provide that form to the defendant?
Hi, Amy.
Right when we started.
Hi, PJ.
Did the defendant give a written statement?
Sarge.
No.
Can you provide any insight as to why that was?
Didn't need it?
He just didn't. He didn't want to. He wanted to tell me what was going on, but he didn't want to write anything down.
So
Is
Is that because my client is illiterate?
provide oral statements to you and not written statements?
oral?
Just-
Right, yeah,
just
and then
the oral.
I'll answer. I'll talk to you, but I don't want to write stuff down. That's not
Strictly oral.
terribly uncommon.
Cop's not doing so well, right?
Mm.
Am I reading this right?
Either that or Grip is
Part of
grasping
your-
at straws right now. One of the two.
Interview where
Right.
you
TK?
enacted any undue influence on the defendant?
No, not at all. We were on opposite sides of the table, and there was a plexiglass partition between us.
Understood. All right, I have no further questions.
Mr. Festi, do you have questions of Officer Nelson?
Mr.
Yes,
Fest.
very briefly. Good morning, Officer Nelson.
Andrea's very confused.
Mhm. I think that's her
Sir,
normal face. Though.
You prepared a written report about this matter of which you're testifying today. Am I correct?
Yes.
And you've been trained at the academy how to, write proper reports. Am I correct?
Yeah.
And isn't it true in your experience and training as an
That's what I
officer
gathered as
that
well, old buck.
it is important to put details into your reports? Am I correct?
That's the long and short of it.
Okay. Now, isn't it true that some of the information you've relayed in your testimony today, based on questions asked by Mr. Grip, is not in the text of your report?
What a great name.
I don't know. I
Well,
didn't review my report.
isn't it true that you do have your report with you today?
I do.
Okay. Isn't it true on page 4 in the last
Isn't it true you're chewing gum in court, you son of a bitch?
bottom? It's about a four-line paragraph.
Nicorette.
Isn't it true that you indicated that
It took me a minute to
Mr.
figure out
Brown
the
had
cleavage
previously been
thing.
advised of his Miranda
I see her
rights while at
name.
the scene?
Got
Am I
it.
correct? Did you declare that
Leave it to cleavage.
Am
Ashley.
I allowed to review
Good to
look
see
at
you.
that?
in your report? Did you write that?
I'm asking if I can look at it.
Yes, of course. And that's the context. I'm just asking if you've had your report, and certainly refresh yourself if needed.
Page 4.
Take
Yes,
all the time
page
you like,
4,
sir.
There's a 4-line paragraph near the bottom, starting with the word once.
I don't know about that. Maybe did something wrong, Mirandizing the
Yeah,
guy.
that's
I don't know. I
Okay.
think that's what we're going for.
Now, isn't it true that you earlier testified that you carry your Miranda rights form in your chest pocket or something?
Yeah.
Okay. Isn't it true that you didn't
Fanny
bring it
pack.
out at this time during this interview with Mr. Brown?
That was
Correct.
on it.
Okay. And isn't it true that you advised Mr. Brown you'd like to take a written statement from him about the incident?
Correct.
And isn't it true that his response was he didn't want to give a written statement?
Spot.
Not exactly.
Okay. Okay.
I love our audience.
Isn't
I
it
really
true
do.
that he wasn't sure he
I
wanted
love
to
you
give a
guys.
written statement?
I
Yeah,
feel
make
that's
it interesting.
Okay. Isn't it true that in this paragraph that you do not describe having shown to him that you had not shown to him
Spit it out, Junior.
statement
Spit it
form
out,
that you
Sherry.
described that would have had his biographical information and his Miranda rights listed?
Yeah, at that point, yes.
So you're representing that you had showed him the interview form. Am I correct?
No. At the point you're talking about in this report, I had not shown him that statement form yet.
Okay.
Vicky.
So
That must be a
isn't it
big
true
point
that
of
Mr. Brown
contention
did not
here.
even
We
have
keep
a
bringing it
chance
up.
to look at such a form and to read for himself?
Not answering very good
Miranda
questions,
rights.
Ashley.
Am I correct?
At
the jail.
No,
Okay.
we went over that up in the interview room. So in the timeline, what you're talking about,
Close
we were
enough.
in the Sally Port, which is how we come in and out of the jail,
Okay.
and the interview room is on the second or third floor or something like that.
But for precision, sir, this is important. In that paragraph, you met with Mr. Brown in the interview room. At that point, did you hand him a paper that showed to him his Miranda rights that would have been on what you would call a statement form?
Messy hair, don't
I
care.
see what you're saying. I would have had it on my
It's a messy
clipboard,
bun.
which would have been right in front of me.
Okay. Isn't it true that he did not read that form?
I don't know if you read it or not.
I'm sorry?
I don't know if he read it or not.
Okay. Isn't it true, though, that...
Isn't it true that Sherry
you, based
sounds very
upon
condescending?
Your
And I
knowledge
love it.
from the field that he had heard his Miranda rights.
Hi, Mayor.
You
Miranda has me
wanted to
now.
ask him some questions?
Could you ask that again?
Isn't it true, based on your
Stada,
knowledge,
please.
that he had heard his rights in the field from Chief Vance? Isn't it true there in the interview room, you asked him if he wanted, that you would like him to answer some questions?
Yes,
Okay. And as you indicated earlier, he wasn't
getting
free to
so
leave this
flustered.
room. Am I correct?
Yeah,
correct.
I
Okay.
love it.
And isn't it true that Mr. Brown proceeded to answer some questions you put to him?
Yes,
Okay. And isn't it true best practices based upon your training and experience would have been to have read him his Miranda rights again, at least from your breast pocket card?
Oh, judge is
well,
bored.
once
Look
they've
at him.
been read their
Yeah,
rights,
he's like,
I have to read
picking
them their
his
rights
nails.
every time I ask a question.
Okay. But, and last of all, just, I want to make sure I was clear about
not
this.
off.
Yeah.
Isn't it true, again, that Mr. Brown never had a chance to read his rights on the interview form? that you-
Judge Middleton would have stopped these proceedings already with all this
It was sitting
double
directly in
answering
front of
and
him.
asking of same questions.
Yeah,
Like
that's
I-
true.
there was a- We were on opposite sides of the table. My clipboard was on the table between the two of
Papa,
us.
he falling asleep.
The form was sitting right there. I don't know if you read it or not.
Okay, and so that detail is not in your report, am I correct?
Almost nap time.
Right.
Mhm.
And you're not able to say which way the statement form was directed, whether it was facing you or to Mr. Brown, am I correct?
I was facing him.
Okay, but that isn't in your report, am I correct? It's just your recollection, am I right?
Yes.
Okay,
No, Vicky, send it over. I haven't seen it.
thank you,
Nah,
Officer
I,
Nelson.
I saw
Appreciate it.
some of it. Yeah, it's pretty
Griffin,
good.
anything further?
It's like,
Just very briefly, Officer Nelson, as alluded to by Mr. Festi, what would be a circumstance in which you would feel the need to re-Mirandize a suspect?
If I forgot. First time around.
yeah, if
I
I
don't
never did it the first time, maybe.
I don't know. I don't know why I would need to read it.
I
more
like that
than
question,
once
though.
per person.
Yeah. Is he saying that he
Understood.
got information
No further
from
question.
him
Thank you, Officer Nelson.
That'd be my
Oh,
guess.
You're excused.
beforehand?
All right, Mr. Griffin, anything further?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Festi, do you wish to call any witnesses?
Yes, Mr. Brown, I'm sure is still in our Zoom circle. Your Honor, Mr.
Our
Brown and I
Zoom
spoke
circle.
yesterday about the nature of a CRR 3.5 hearing. He's aware that if he were to testify
Well, hi,
today,
beautiful
he
girl.
will be cross-examined. He would like to share briefly in sworn testimony his recollection of this day, November 19th.
Good morning, Mr. Brown.
Morning, Judge.
I need to inform you of your rights specifically as it pertains to this hearing. So listen to me carefully, please. You may, but you need not testify
Nice,
at
Eric.
this hearing today on the
Cycling class.
circumstances surrounding any
By the way,
statements you
Creed,
may have.
I got $5
If
from
you
Kurt
do
this
testify
morning.
at this hearing
Oh.
today, you will be subject to cross-examination with respect to the circumstances
Man of his
surrounding
word.
any statements
That he is.
with respect to your credibility. If you do testify at this hearing, you do not waive your right to remain silent during the trial.
Hmm.
If you testify at this hearing, let me make sure.
I feel like Mr. Brown
If
just
you
got
do
laid last
testify
night.
At this hearing, neither this fact nor your testimony at this hearing shall be mentioned to the jury unless you testify concerning the statement at trial. You understand all of that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Festi, go ahead.
And Your Honor, I don't know if you need to swear him or anything, or shall we just?
I
proceed?
do.
Swear him, effort, mar
Right
effort.
hand. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about
Whoa.
to will be the truth.
Another botch
sir.
almost
I mean-
right there.
Thank you, Mr. Festi. You may proceed.
He's going to
Certainly,
be in
Your Honor.
court being questioned the
morning,
same
Mr.
way
Brown.
Mr. Grip just.
Good morning.
It's
Mr.
coming.
Brown, on November 19th, 2021, at approximately 1:30 in the afternoon,
It
where
was.
were you located?
My place at 2255 East Beacon.
Okay.
Look it up. Let me
Were
know
you
the
a
Zillow on
resident
that, please.
At that property?
Yeah.
Okay, and to move things forward, were you sitting on
Your
whether it be a
ass.
stump or a tire or something of that nature, holding papers when you spoke with Chief Vance?
Hi, Carol. I think I
was
missed
sitting on
you.
a bench.
You were sitting on a bench, okay?
Sitting
Did
on
you
a
have
bench.
Papers in your hand,
Yes, I did.
okay? Do you recall what were those papers?
Search warrant papers.
Okay, And when did you get those papers? Received them?
As soon as Martinez had walked up to me, as soon as I
Thank
pulled
you,
up.
Eric.
Okay. And how long between you describe your interaction with, I believe, Police Officer Martinez and Officer Vance? How much time lapsed?
Half hour or more.
Okay. Did you recognize Chief Vance?
No.
Creed, I'm trying to get a job. She's
Chief
court reporter.
have
I'm
on
the
police uniform. at that
courtroom sketch artist. I'm sketch things that they're talking about. It's him on the bench holding the papers.
I like that. Thank you.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
And did you initiate conversation with Chief Vance?
No, I didn't. He came up and started talking.
Okay. And
You're on a stump.
do you recall what he asked you, if anything, based upon him talking?
Andrew is still very confused.
He asked me what we were. I
To
asked
whip
him
it out.
what was going on because I didn't know
What's going on?
they were there.
Okay.
Okay.
And
Ivan.
and what happened next, sir?
Mr. Feisty.
Um,
Thank you. I'm quite the
While I
artist.
sat there, I had Officer Martinez and
Oh, Papa
Wilson
told
and
me. Don't
Vance
have to
that
talk.
were around me, and Nelson.
He's busy incriminating himself
And,
as hard as he can.
Yeah, right.
Did
Making the
Chief
case for
Vance
everybody.
Speak to you further after your initial response to a question he asked.
It's sketchy at best.
And did Chief Vance advise you of your constitutional rights?
No.
Most of them.
Mr. C.
Officer Martinez did.
Okay, Officer Martinez advised you of your constitutional rights?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Was Chief Vance still in that circle you previously described?
Yeah.
Okay. And did Chief Vance ask you any questions?
Yeah, he did.
Okay. And did you provide answers to him?
Yes.
And let me go back one step. When
Since you're
Officer
talking,
Martinez read to you your
Ask you a few more
constitutional
questions.
rights,
I'm going to gut you.
were you aware of your constitutional rights and understand them?
No.
Uh,
Say no.
I had just woken up, so I mean, I wasn't all the way there in the head.
oh,
Okay.
okay.
Let me clarify. When you heard your constitutional rights, did you ask him to?
Oh my
repeat
God, there's a
them?
ghost.
I believe I did.
Papa's
Okay.
door just
Were
opened.
the constitutional rights?
They're
you
just checking to make sure
described
he's okay.
repeated for you again?
He's at his
I get-
house, I
Let's
think.
go give him his meds.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you understand those
That's
rights
weird.
based upon them
Creed,
having been
I
repeated?
know it didn't happen,
Yes.
but
Okay.
it was put out there.
And
This is what it looked like if he'd have been on the stump that we referred to earlier
did
with the
Officer-
piece of paper in his hand.
Chief Vance step away from you for a period before he returned to ask further questions?
Court fiction.
Okay. Did you still understand your
Look
constitutional
at look.
rights?
Is somebody on the
Did you
floor?
turn to you and ask
I just
further
gotta reach so they
questions
couldn't see.
while
it.
you were there on the bench?
Yeah, he did.
Did you answer his questions?
It's like crawls on the floor
Yeah.
and puts his,
Okay.
fiber bar up there on the counter. Crawls
and-
back out.
Mr. Brown, I'd like to shift briefly. You were brought to the county jail, am I correct?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Did you have an opportunity
gonna
to interact?
shift
with
right there in the
Officer
courtroom?
Nelson
He's
in
gonna
the
shift
interview room at
quickly.
Grays Harbor County Jail?
I believe so.
Okay.
Can you take that? I believe
Let me-
so
for-
in court.
Based on that, do you recall being
Isn't that kind of like maybe?
inside an interview room at Grays Harbor County Jail with a police officer later in the afternoon on the 19th day of November
Poor Andrea.
2021?
Smile or rub your nose.
Okay. Did you hear in that interview room anyone read to you your Miranda rights or your constitutional rights?
Oh, he's doubling up and
Okay.
tripling up on that
Did
question,
you
huh?
have any opportunity to
They're
review
trying to get this thrown out, I
an
guarantee.
official Montesano Police Department form
Just saying.
that listed your constitutional rights on?
We have a
Did you have a
request.
chance to review a Montesano Police Department statement form?
Just imagine
at that
his.
time
Just
that
imagine
listed your constitutional
Andrea's
rights?
face on his.
I didn't pay
Basically.
Andrea is very confused,
Okay.
but I
Did
do love her oversized
The
glasses.
police officer
I
who
do
met with you
too.
in that room
I don't know why.
advised you that he wanted you to advise you that he'd like to ask you some questions?
Yeah.
Did you
He
answer
was
his
just picking his
questions?
nails, looking down at him a minute ago.
Mhm.
He's very bored. Papa. I love that name, by
I
the way.
believe some of them I did.
Okay, were you free to leave that room?
No,
Did you understand that he was
77.
asking questions about an incident at 2255 East Beacon or an investigation at that address?
Thanks, guys, for the likes.
Okay.
80 people only. Wow. The hell? Get the likes up. Let's go. Oh, she's
Did
getting
you
tired,
ever-
Creed.
No,
She's
wow,
going
that's
nuts.
a
Ever ask
big
him to
yawn. She was
stop
up
his
late last
questioning
night with
during
We
this
Got a
period in
Chase.
the interview room?
I think I could probably help
How
out
did
the judge.
I
I think I
questioning
got some back
period
here
in
might
the
help.
interview room end?
what was that?
Yeah.
How did the
Love when they
questioning
do that.
period in that interview room end?
Not as much help as
Who
I thought.
ended the interview in the interview room?
I believe he said he was finished, and
Okay.
Told me to have a good
Mr.
night.
Brown, finally.
Money was on the
Did
counter.
you speak with the officer Nelson voluntarily while you were there in the interview room?
Yeah.
Okay. You were not put, did anyone place pressure in that interview room to speak to him?
She'd be
What
even
if-
more confused.
yeah.
Ghost.
What if Judge
Who
Paul
placed
Paul's in one
pressure on
room,
you while you were in that interview?
right across the
room
hall?
when you answered
Andrea
those
is in the other
questions?
room. They live together. They're lovers.
Nelson.
How did you, based upon your representation that you felt pressure, how were you aware that you were facing pressure? What were those circumstances?
He had a pew pew pointed at me.
Because I was
pressure.
locked up and I wasn't able to.
If Miss
Going
Cleavage was the court reporter,
Did
is
the
she
answer
typing?
himself put any pressure
She doesn't
on you
seem
to
to
answer
be.
questions?
She's doing some hand stuff, Creed. You can't see below the table.
Oh, that's a good point.
Asking the same question with different wording, trying to catch me.
Trying
out
to
live.
trick me.
I wasn't.
She got up 2 seconds before court started.
At any point, did you tell him to stop asking such questions?
I just didn't answer him.
I said, shut up with them dumbass
Okay.
questions.
And during this interaction in the interview room,
Oh no, I didn't mean that. You can keep
expressed some
going.
confusion earlier
Yes.
on in the day about your Miranda rights.
Perfect timing.
Did you understand your Miranda rights at this
50
time?
likes, 89 people watching.
Officer Nelson.
Like this video, please.
Not really.
Okay. When you finally, sir, when you answer that with the phrase "not really," what does that mean? So we are aware today.
That's not creepy, Fletcher. Oh.
I was pretty much in shock still because I've never
Go on.
been through one of those before.
For clarification, sir, what do you mean one of those?
The search warrant, where all the cops came in with guns and
Never been arrested.
Pew pew.
Okay. And so, isn't it true then excuse me.
She snuck
Right.
in. I saw it.
Okay.
Laying low.
And so,
Let's do it. 53.
nothing
wow.
further, Your Honor. Thank you.
Wow, just
Griff, do you have
abrupt
anything?
ending, Your Honor.
Briefly, Mr. Brown, is it correct that you believe that you were Mirandized by Officer Martinez?
I was Mirandized by him.
And
Well, what
how
about
long
Mirandized?
after the police arrived on the property were you Mirandized?
right before I got taken to jail. So it was probably an hour, maybe.
And isn't it true that you spoke with Chief Vance
Oh,
after
dear.
you were Mirandized?
Nice
No.
curtains.
It's not true?
No, I was Mirandized right before I got in the police car and went to jail.
Did you, isn't it true that you had a conversation with Chief Vance?
Yeah, I did.
From Vance
And
Refrigeration.
at that time, were you under arrest?
No, and I wasn't free to go either.
Isn't it true that
So you were
Chief Vance
detained.
never put you under arrest?
Go on, Creed.
Well, we're having a little stutter.
I'm
As they
wondering.
say.
I'm wondering if that's Judge Paul Paul.
I,
They're running on Judge Paul Paul's internet, by the way.
well, let's jump over to Sed. And is that how you got racked up? If this comes back, I kind of want to see how that plays out.
Yeah, I kind of don't want to jump from it if we don't have.
Oh,
to.
wait a minute. We're back.
Isn't it true that Officer Martinez placed you under arrest after your conversations had already occurred with Chief Vance?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And isn't it true that Chief Vance never said anything to you that would indicate that you were detained or under arrest?
Who
All the officers that were standing around me.
are both attorneys against him? I can't. I'm confused.
It is
Why?
so weird. I know.
What do you mean? Why? They're all standing there with guns, and yeah, I ain't trying to get shot.
Yeah.
Isn't it true that none of those guns were taken out by any of the police that you observed?
Actually, they were being held up.
Isn't it true that none of those guns were being pointed at you in the course of your conversations
Oh, well,
with Chief Vance?
I mean, if they're still, I kind of understand that.
Yeah.
Isn't it true that in the course of your conversation with Chief Vance, none of those police were within 10 feet of where you were having a conversation?
Actually, they were surrounded me.
Mr. Griff, you understand that none of this was raised in the direct examination of Mr. Brown. I don't understand why you're getting into all of these things that Mr.
Finally.
Fest hasn't even placed on the table.
Yeah.
No kidding. Paw woke up.
Understood. Were you Mirandized prior to being placed at the Grays Harbor County Jail?
At the jail.
And did you provide statements to Officer Nelson in the course of your interview?
Talking to him, yeah.
Isn't it
Hi,
true that you gave
Ollie.
those statements to Officer Nelson after you were advised of your
Hi,
Miranda
Ollie.
rights?
Hi, Ollie. Mikey, don't be rude.
I'm sorry. I'm court reporting.
And isn't
Hi,
it true
Holly.
that Officer Nelson asked questions of you that you chose not to answer?
Yeah, because he tried to catch me in a lie, which I wasn't lying.
And isn't it true that your choice not to answer those questions was an exercise of your right to remain silent?
No, I didn't want to answer him.
And isn't it true that you refused to provide a written statement?
Yeah.
Isn't it true that you felt free at that time to not provide a written statement?
Going around in
No, I didn't
circles.
feel free.
This
at
is
the time.
him if he was on the
I have
stump
no further
and
questions.
Officer Vance had the
Best anything
PQ
else?
on.
Nothing further on the redirect, sir. Thank you.
Any other witnesses, Mr. Festi?
No, sir, not from the defense at this point. No.
Metaphorically speaking.
I have another matter to be heard at 10:30. I will listen to very brief argument at this.
I ain't got time for this shit. Let's go.
It's moving on.
The testimony reflects that at no point in any of the statements made by
Mr. Brown.
the defendant to Chief Vance was he in custody, or was there the appearance that the defendant was not free to go?
Detained.
Detained.
Ah, there it is.
Accordingly, those statements are not subject to Miranda scrutiny. If anything, the testimony reflects that Chief Vance erred to the side of caution, and
Oh,
that he
You think
advised
that's a dumb name? How about
of
Miranda
his
Scrutiny? What
constitutional
a terrible
rights
name that is.
in advance that of the possibility of incriminating statements being made. Furthermore, the defendant was advised of his rights prior to the time that he talked to Officer Nelson in the jail. Officer Nelson stated
Jen.
that it is his
Jen,
practice
everybody.
he allowed the written statement form that includes Miranda warnings when interviewing within the jail. Officer Nelson advised that the written Miranda statements on that form were made available and placed in
Just
front
wait
of.
till you see this guy.
There
Yeah.
was
Over in
a
Judge
very
Simpson's
short period of
court, by the
time,
way.
less than an hour,
Look
that
at now he's
occurred between
playing
the
with his
arrest of the
glasses.
defendant
This
and
is
the
so
interview that
weird.
occurred in the jail. There was
Judge
no
Paul's already made
indication
up
in the
his
testimony
mind
that they
before
were,
they even
where it was
started
a break in
questioning
test,
him.
break
Yeah,
in
he's
custody,
done.
where the defendant was
Checked
free
out.
to go, that would require him to be re-Mirandized, nor was there any testimony or evidence presented that there were circumstances that would necessitate a re-Mirandization of the defendant prior to his statements. Accordingly, the in-custody statements of the defendant made in the Grays Harbor County Jail were done with sufficient Miranda protections, and any statements made by the defendant to Chief Vance at the 2255
Remember this
Beacon
name.
Avenue property
Tim
were
Nagel.
non-custodial in nature and should be admitted.
Hi,
Thank
Hailey.
you, Mr. Festi.
Brief reflection based upon time
Yes,
limitations here, Your
James.
Honor. There certainly is no bright line rule that law enforcement officers must always fully re-advise the defendant of his or her Miranda rights. In cases like this, whether defendant's Miranda rights have been scrupulously honored must be determined on a case-by-case basis. In the field,
He's reading.
we heard testimony today that that Officer Martinez informed
Sherry?
the defendant of his constitutional rights. Chief Vance went up to the defendant.
Vance
There was a
refrigeration?
question about the documents in his hands. At that point,
Papers.
it's represented that Chief Vance read to him rights. He didn't take out his card, but
pushed him
rather
off the
than,
stump?
but instead, having been satisfied that he had advised the defendant of certain rights, proceeded to engage in vigorous questioning of him. And you've heard testimony today that other officers were around in the premises at that area. And so there's a question there whether the defendant fully understood his constitutional rights. It was also a question whether or not he was free to go. The defendant has represented when 2 or 3
Plies.
officers, 4 officers possibly around him, that he didn't feel he was free to walk away or go. It is fair to say at least a quasi-custodial environment. Let me move ahead to his interaction at the jail.
Soaking it up.
Officer Nelson testified that he did not read to the defendant again his rights. Officer Nelson refreshed himself from his report. Officer Nelson was not able to recall in detail how he showed a form to the defendant, whether the defendant had been able to read a statement form that would have had his constitutional rights on it, nor did Officer
I don't think so, but it is
read to
now.
him the constitutional rights again. Officer Nelson
Sherry
says
Feisty.
aware from others in the field that the defendant had heard his constitutional rights. You heard testimony that the defendant felt a little bit confused there in that interview room, that the defendant certainly knew in an
I know,
interview
right?
room at the county jail he's not free to leave. I would ask the court, in considering the entire circumstances,
Thanks for
your
keeping it brief,
long
Sherry.
experience, to find that the statements made by the defendant in this matter, both in the field and at county jail, were not made knowingly, intelligently, and voluntarily, and that therefore they
3
should be
minutes late.
suppressed. Thank you.
Well, this case isn't difficult. There's no question that the statements are admissible. Let's begin with the fact that Mr. Brown testified just a few moments ago that the statements he made to Officer Nelson were made voluntarily by him. I'm going to make a finding that he was advised of his constitutional rights properly
Still
by
not
Chief
sure.
Vance at a time when he was not in custody, and that he was also advised of his constitutional rights by Officer Martinez as he was being placed into custody, and in fact asked Officer Martinez to repeat those rights, and it happened. So he was informed of his rights 3 times, and then taken to the county jail, where Officer Nelson interviewed him, and
Moto
Mr.
G.
Brown admitted that his answers to Officer Nelson were made by him voluntarily.
He's not
The
happy.
statements are admissible. Mr. Grip, I want you to prepare findings and conclusions and provide them to Mr. Festi. Have we had a pretrial conference in this case already?
How
Your Honor,
did
we are set
Brown
for a
not
hearing on
lie?
Monday on the 14th. I also will say I heard earlier on the matter of Cora Bowe. Mr. Grip can elaborate, but I think Mr. Brown may be in a similar situation as the Bowe matter, but I'll let Mr. Grip address that.
Have you been provided any additional discovery, Mr. Festi?
Yes.
Hey,
That's
Debbie?
correct. That's the
You
issue.
missed the confusing one over here.
Getting the hell out of there, Chris.
Yeah,
I'm
they're-
done with him.
I guess he ain't even got a
Which
rule.
is
Like this.
really
Yeah, it's just The
So,
only thing
and
he
I can
ruled is
explain how I
it's-
get there.
his
Kind of
statements
messy.
are admissible.
Like making
That's it.
Oh, good. The
sausage
student
by thought
attorneys are
process,
around
but it's
today. These are
beautiful at
fun.
the end.
Yeah, they're hot.
So
Oh, Timothy. Okay.
the whole
Oh, there's
idea of
Timothy.
Sarah
Gotcha.
was absent the
Mountain
pandemic
Man.
in a lot of ways to certainly maintain housing.
Timothy
Some
taking
people
time
phrase
away
it that
from
way.
his
But it was
paper
really to
writing for
put
his
everybody back
Canadian
in
online
almost a
papers.
position
I
as
Sarah.
though it had not occurred,
Excuse me for just a moment. Damon
and
seemed
then allow
both of
people
them
to
seem
sort of
very
proceed forward.
like weird.
I mean,
next
that's sort of the general concept.
first date stuff.
So it seems to me in
Look
this
at her
case
smiling.
that an ideal solution would be this.
She likes to sit that close to her brother.
That while she hasn't made those payments under the previous agreement,
Monica.
that she shouldn't be evicted because she couldn't make any payments under that agreement during that time. And that the parties would just have to say, okay, the Sarah funds come in, Sarah
It
pays
was.
off what would have been the current rent. She wasn't in a position, I don't believe, to make the payments and allow her to start that agreement again. That seems to me to be the solution to this.
So did he let these student attorneys argue for people?
Yes.
Would the
Actually,
defendant
do.
have an objection to that?
Yes, Your Honor, we would be happy to take that back to our client and discuss it with her.
Okay. And you can tell me if you didn't understand what I just said. I've been going for about 2 hours now, so I probably need a break. But did you follow what I was getting at in terms of just putting everybody, get the rent paid, put everybody back where they were, let her start her payments again, get it paid off, and that agreement just goes there. But the amounts, as I understand, also, Mr.
Keep an eye on the hole in the bottom.
When those agreements were done, that amount would come off of their last.
I believe
because
that's
it was just.
I believe that's
Yeah,
pronounced
it's
do
to the
and
side.
or.
It's
So-
a
Do it
separate
whole.
Excuse
agreement.
me.
They take it off the ledger at that point.
Right.
Go ahead, you
So,
do it whole.
to the extent it went back on the ledger, part of this would be,
Oh my
again,
God,
it
I
would
wanna
come
see
off
that.
the ledger. Whatever the agreement was at that time, that would just continue on.
Kurt Russell.
Okay, so if you want to take
Role
that
he
back
was
to
born
your
play.
Got
client,
Judge
how
Middleton
long-
at 3B
how much time do you
lined
need
up for
to
some
do that?
tenant, landlord-tenant matters.
Your Honor, if we may request 1 week,
Stick here for a
please.
little bit. Nothing
Just
really
one?
Okay.
pops
Yes.
up there. I'll be all
Give
right.
them 2 weeks.
Go ahead.
Judge.
That's one.
I'm gonna be out of town on the 25th, so maybe 2 weeks.
If you're out of town on the 25th, that's 2 weeks.
Oh, then
Stay
The
with
first.
us.
April
What?
1st or the 18th, either one.
Okay, so
Thank
here's
you,
the
Mayor.
dates I
Good
have.
to see you.
folks. I have the 18th, 1 week out. I have the 25th, and I have the 8th.
All right, let's do the 18th.
1 week. You think you can get it done in 1 week, counsel, in terms of the communication with your client?
We're happy with 1 week. Thank you.
Okay, I got you.
That's because they
Well,
don't have
you know,
anything else to
if
do.
they mess
These-
up,
these students.
you're just screwed.
Anyway,
You're on
no,
the streets.
I'm sure you have a lot to do. I'm gonna try to be nice. It's just not working well. All right,
It's been a long day.
Giggles.
all these Fridays are, but that's okay. You just get used to it. It's like banging your head against a wall. Eventually you go numb and it doesn't matter anymore. All right, so the 18th at 9 a.m. or your Zoom invite indicates. Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Judge.
Is everybody- Is he taking a break? What's going on?
Court calls the case. Chittister Place versus
More to go.
Portia Mackey.
Accused
I'm
P
here.
31986 appearing on behalf of the plaintiff.
Doing ho.
All right, she's here.
Yes,
Miss Mackey? Okay, there you are.
yes.
All right. I think we were trying to get some clarification as to whether or not our Sarah application got in.
Yeah, I think, Your Honor, that my notes say that there was no Sarah funding at the time of the first hearing on the 18th, but she wanted to apply and she met with legal aid to assist her.
Correct. Miss Lee, do we have
Bigfoot,
her
good
in
to
the
see you, bud.
system yet?
Yes, she's in the system. We received her application on that day.
All right. So This being a Sarah application now, this matter is stayed
Spot check
to
news.
Michigan Supreme Court. This matter will adjourn out to April 22nd.
And the Sarah number is?
Is today listed on the couch together
Yes,
day?
it is 563918.
Thank you. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. 9 a.m. or Zoom right indicated. All right. What is this?
Thank you.
No, not right about now.
Funk Show
Okay.
Brothers right about now.
And you thought I was going to be difficult.
Samuel
Yes, I always
up
do.
in his sexy bedroom.
Come on.
Forrest Knoll versus Janine Imlangwe.
Your Honor, I have some good news.
Go
Yay.
ahead.
What is it?
As you'll recall, we worked very hard to assist this tenant. I'm happy to report she has a phone and that we found a private translator. That person is on the call right now.
Oh, this ought to be good.
Wonderful.
We do not have funds to pay this person anymore, so she's here now and could be of great assistance if the court would be willing to pay
Pay
for
her?
her services today. Otherwise, I'm prepared to report to the court what happened and where we're at.
I can't commit the court to pay for the services because we have our services, so I can't do
So
that.
I've got some bad
Um,
news, Tracy.
Well,
This lady's not
looks
getting
like
paid.
There has been a Sarah application. I just got an email from Mishta
Thank you, Nightbot.
with a Sarah number relating to this particular defendant.
It's a very
So
flattering.
it may look like at this point, it's a Sarah stay type of an adjournment.
I think so too. It's
Yes.
look at all the money you're
I think there are
saving.
a couple issues but she was able to do an intake with legal services. She qualifies. I don't know if it will be a rep or an advice case. And
It's Daddy
there is
Kaba.
I suspect there's a recertification issue in addition to a Sarah issue.
Daddy Kaba in the house.
She does have a caseworker.
And
I don't believe
Tyrone.
that caseworker was able to appear. So I think this is moving along.
Well, her current rent looks to be $55. So I don't think there's a recertification issue.
$55.
I like that they're
subsidized
trying to
rent.
get a translator,
Um,
and there's no money for the
So
translator.
when this
can't
translator
pay the
visited her in her
translator.
apartment last
And
night,
there's like,
I was
Judge,
on the
could you pay
phone, it
for it to
looked
court?
like
And he's like,
her
yeah, no.
rental rate had gone up to market rate,
I can't
perhaps
pay
in
for that.
July. Now that could have been an
We have
old
our own,
ledger.
I've
But
been
there's
watching
multiple issues
Law
here,
Talk
and
with
that's what
Mike. I
was
know there's like
referring to.
17 of them. I'm on like 5. Very
Okay,
interesting.
so what it seems like to me, Miss Lee, can you verify the Sarah application?
Yes, we received it yesterday.
Who
All right.
doesn't want a Sarah application?
So
Am I right, guys?
therefore, it's subject to the stay of the Michigan Supreme Court.
Can you tell I'm pregnant, Ed?
And I'm going to trust Miss Jensen that somehow or another, and I appreciate the translator being here, I really do.
Daddy. Daddy's
that it can be
Daddy's got
communicated to her
stony lights.
that I'm going to put this out. It sounds like there's a number of issues to try to resolve. I'm going to give a little bit longer stay period to kind of work through it. And try to make sure to see what Sarah will pay because
Yeah,
that
like
may
Haley said,
resolve
the angle of
in a lot of
that
ways.
is great.
So I will put this to, instead of the April 22nd, I'm going to give the April 29th date at 9 a.m.
Do y'all hear a kid somewhere?
All right.
Thank you, Judge.
I will attempt to find a way to communicate this information to her. Thank you so
Okay.
much. It was a
If-
Herculean effort and a huge success, frankly.
Yeah. And
Herculean. I like that.
if you contact the court regarding payment for interpreter or translator services that are live, actually, I may be able to do this. Ma'am, are you through University Translators by any chance or no? Oh,
Muted.
can't-
Turn. She can't even work her phone.
I think she shook her head now.
Okay. No, I'm not with the University Translator Services, Your Honor.
All right.
I'm
All right.
independent. Yeah.
So, Ms. Jensen, if you contact our court administration, we may be able to arrange something regarding that, or I can order it live so that somebody can be here. Because Swahili, I have now learned, does not do well over language line. All right. All right. April
Translator's in a
29th,
hurry. She hasn't even took her
2022.
coat off.
Did
Very
you
good.
need to, since your translator was here, did you need to put everyone in a breakout room to say what I did? Would that help you out at least?
If she's willing to translate just while we're trying to
I-
figure this out, I would of course appreciate it.
Well,
but
they're
No
messing
freebies.
around with the translate stuff.
Okay.
Let's go over to 3B.
You do that
Again,
for me?
landlord-tenant matters.
Yes, I will
and
do
see
that
what
for you,
she-
sir.
Popping
She's
off.
going to pay Autumn.
Autumn, hello.
Will now be into Autumn's rent. So I'm sorry, April's rent. So you'll have April on top of the whatever.
April's going to be on top of Autumn.
35, I think.
I'm getting excited already.
Before that, I guess.
I can pay that.
It's Friday. Let's party.
April's rent isn't due until April.
Yeah.
But it's,
Ooby,
but
booby,
anyway,
booby, I like
167.70.
boobs. I like giant boobs and small
169.
boobs.
Sorry.
But I'm gonna.
My
fix it
inner monologue come out for a second.
Sorry about that.
April 11th at 1 p.m.
And I'm coming up with a different number here than what I think Kendra said. Her balance was $597.35,
Mm-hmm.
and she paid $450 or $400.
450.
Fall fitting.
Sorry.
It was
You better
450.
call Tyrone.
250 away from that. I'm coming up with 140.
450.
She was also charged a late fee.
I got you. I don't have that on here yet. My ledger doesn't show it. That makes sense. Okay. All right. Now we're square, Judge. I got it now.
I like Kendra's
Miss Moa,
angle.
You seem to be well.
It's very flattering. I'm going to go with that
Yeah.
one next stream.
So only 169.35.
Yes.
And once you pay that, this matter could be dismissed.
They fight
But
till
by
their
the time
death.
we're here April 11th, you need to pay April's rent. But
Is
if
there any way
everybody-
Autumn can stand up and turn to the
You
right?
need to be here.
Right.
So
I
hope they
can
don't-
pay that tonight. I do have to take a trip to Walmart, so I can just do that tonight. I've got my paycheck today, so.
Profile shot is
Where
this.
do you work?
I work at Cottage Inn and I work at McDonald's.
Mm.
Good for you.
So then once we get that payment, Kendra will just let my office know. And also a voluntary dismissal.
Sometimes we're a little
And I'll
late with the
send you a
stars,
copy
Cole.
as well, so you'll see
It
that the
happens.
case was dismissed. That's the
All right,
paper.
thank you so much.
If you ever send stars and you send a message with the stars,
That's
you
Right.
can't
I do
tell
have a
that you
thing full
sent
of all
them.
the papers that I like.
Must
that are
Jeanette
That's what
do it.
that's what Jeanette's for.
So yeah.
Well, it
She
can
does
make
an
it difficult
awesome
for you
job.
to get into other subsidized housing if you're evicted or have a case.
Right.
So
Exactly. Yes.
that's good advice. Hold on.
Autumn gets with the right guy. She won't have to work two
All right.
jobs
Do you have any
anymore.
questions?
No, I do not.
All right, you're good to go. Thank you. I wish everything.
Thank
Why
you.
she doesn't?
Thank you.
Why she don't work at Burger King, the home of the Whoppers?
Well, Amy, you don't look like you have to provide any help there. She seems to be on top of it. Let's bring in Katie.
Very refreshing. Breath of fresh air.
And Judge, I do want to tell you something that I'm not sure if maybe I misheard you, but the necessity of a 30-day adjournment is only when somebody has actually applied for Sarah.
Yes, I discussed that the other day.
And very quick, since you just brought it up, there is our big top senders of the week from the Facebook.
Yeah, Robert. Robert,
Robert on top.
2,000. No one's even sniffing the hem of his garment.
Judge, what I usually ask for if somebody like what you're saying, and I see this a lot, where they're hearing about Sarah for the first time at the hearing, even though they were sent a copy in the paperwork, the judge telling it to them is the first time they got it. So I typically tell the courts, kick it out for 3 weeks, give her a chance, her or him, an opportunity to apply for Sarah. Then when we come back, then the 30 days and the 15 days and all that.
Crown Town.
But I sometimes, use a shorter adjournment to kind of lead the horse to water, as it were.
Well, one of the concerns had been.
The analogies are flowing already today.
Nathan, are you lying?
To be able to get it done within 30 days. Now, we've been discussing.
Nathan, there's a very good possibility.
You're aware, but we got the latest
Very good.
during lunch, the latest email from Sarah. They're closing the portal on May 1st. And there isn't going to be any more emergency housing funding.
Honey, are you like moving out or something?
So they did actually put a drop dead date. They finally, I have not heard that latest piece. I had heard all the other updates. That
Would be the first move out that I didn't notice.
Unless there was some urgency.
No, it would not.
But now they're saying as of the 15th, they're going to just close it completely or just close it to the portal access.
I'll forward you the email.
Okay.
They're closing it. You know, we had heard you had to have an arrearage into December. Anyway.
Wow, they're cutting everybody off. Get ready, folks.
Well,
get people used to.
So there was a bit of a discussion earlier with Amy Lucas, who controls all the monies for the people that need rent money.
Mm-hmm.
And they keep changing it up a little bit because they keep running out of money. And there's some new stipulations as of like, you now need an eviction as of like December 20th now. And he was kind of taken back by it, and they had a conversation, but also learned that Amy has 10 outdoor cats and 8 indoor cats in her house.
I was intending to sign up for on the
Learned
16th
that today
We're
too.
going to be having a meeting on this. And I wanted to sign up to make some comments on, how this what parts have been working and what parts have not been working. But I've got so many cases on the 16th. There's no
She's
way I
with
can get on
Deer
the Zoom
Creek,
to
which
do
I believe is like
that
an
meeting.
apartment
And,
complex.
because I think
Or a really crappy water.
we're going to go back to quote the good old days, but a lot of times DHS was always struggling to get stuff done.
Is Tyrone here just to give Mr. Middleton a education today?
Judgment, then
better listen up, Judge.
Scheme of let's give them 30 days to work that out.
And Amy says, now you have to have a judgment. She sent under the.
This
new
is what they were
program,
talking about earlier.
They request that they have it because she said an eviction, and then we discussed what she meant as a judgment.
Is that state emergency relief you're talking about, Amy?
That's the Sierra program. That's the guidelines we just had come out because we're with Sierra 2 funding.
Uh-huh.
And it says that if they don't have a rental arrearages before December 20th, but if they owe rent and it's going to cause them to be evicted, we have to have a paper from the judge saying they're going to be the possession or whatever,
right?
And then we can push them through.
What I've heard from
real quick, Creed, while they're discussing all these riveting matters.
That got shoved in there.
This is
that
an
had nothing to do with me.
anti-harassment hearing.
Let's do it. I'm good with that.
Bunch of
There's
grumpy
some
old men.
phone, looks like a cordless phone.
That's what I was talking about. The cordless.
Real quick, I just want you to see Abby.
Oh, Abby.
And then the
hair bug.
The notes here, is that from?
I have no idea what this is.
That's
I mean, I don't even see an attorney.
He
harassed
dropped
who?
that off and berated my sister and
Who?
handed
Berated
her
his
that
sister.
note with his phone number, wanting me to call her, but we were in litigation. And the reason why I didn't call Dan McPherson is because we were in litigation and I didn't want to
versus Dan
escalate.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, and then I'm sorry, back to Mr. McPherson, Daniel T. McPherson.
Yes.
So Mr. Baker's saying that you called him and left a bunch of voicemails and he kind of outlined what they were about. Is that accurate?
Free to have a
or-
copy of the note that they gave to
Tell me
Mr.
about
Baker.
Well, I did call him and leave him one voicemail that I remember, and I never did say, we're going to get you. Like I said in the beginning, I've never threatened anybody, never
We're gonna get
was
you.
unkind to anybody, especially his mother. I felt sorry for his mother because she's got a
It's you and your mother.
57-year-old guy still living with her and dealing with him hiding around the corner and having to come answer the door when I know he's there.
57.
I showed up 5 minutes after he did one time when his truck wasn't there, and then 10 minutes later his truck was there. So I walked to the door and he wasn't there, supposedly. I felt sorry for
wait,
the lady,
Creed,
and
did
as
you
soon as
notice
she acted like
he's
she
wearing-
was uncomfortable,
He's
I
57 years
left,
old,
as you'll
living with
see
his
in the
mom
video.
in a gaming chair.
So it's all
Yes, he is.
perjury, that I berated anybody. I was polite and calm and handed her that number with my phone number on it. Asked her to have Mr. Baker call me. And as far as coming up right between, before a court appearance, I'm not sure what court appearance he's talking about. I wasn't even sure of the dates that he had with my daughter at all. But I wasn't trying to intimidate him in any way. I was trying to serve him papers.
Sure.
I also wanted to see what kind of person would teach two boys that it's okay to beat on girls. But still haven't been able to figure that out. But
Okay, so we'll go ahead and play the videos then. So I've got first is a CD.
Wait a minute, we
and
got
there's a note
videos.
here. I'll just read it into the record. Well, you got to copy all this stuff, right, Mr. Baker, James Baker? I think you said somebody.
I do,
Okay,
Your Honor.
it's already in here, but there's a note attached to it that says what the video. is
Tons of
about, so go ahead
notes
and play
being
it.
handed around.
I'll try.
97 of you here. If you would like this video, we're watching some anti-harassment hearings going on right now.
Learning about some anti-bullying, as they say.
We found out so far that Mr. Baker is 57 years old, still lives with his mother, and we feel sorry for her. And we're going to see some video footage. I like that.
I hope we can see it. Usually can.
We'll have to.
Also, if you're new here, please like, subscribe, notifications on. Cases and chases 5 days a week. We got to chase 2 hours now, starting at 1 p.m. pretty much every single day. That's what I was thinking as a ring cam.
Think he plays? What game do you think James plays? Uh-oh, here we go. The meat and potatoes. Let's go. Looks like the gavel we have out there is going to hit Jacob in the head.
Oh, it is.
Jacob's been rendered unconscious. Oh, getting out of the truck. All right. Oh, he's got a piece of paper, it looks like.
Clark County.
Coming on over here. Oh, there's his license plate. Oh. World's worst cameraman, by the way.
Yeah, not very good at all. A little upside down there.
Is this Mr. Baker's house? Well, excuse me, his mom's house?
He doesn't have a house.
You've been served. This is he lives in the garage. If you hear him, he's doing his podcast right now in there. Roll that beautiful bean footage, yes. Mr. Baker, I know you're home.
Hi, Mr. Baker here.
He's not available.
Of course he's not.
Playing World of
Okay,
Warcraft.
I'll just get the sheriff involved then. He can hide in the closet all he wants.
Oh, well.
U-Hauls.
You don't know what's going on? Him and his two sons attacked my daughter and her boyfriend. He had a gun on his
Okay,
belt.
but why are you here?
Oh, pew pew.
Okay.
And I can't serve him if I can't find him. I'm trying to be as, cool as I can be.
I thought you were to stay away from all of our family.
Uh-oh.
I haven't been, I'm
Get
not,
off the property now.
okay,
I'll call the sheriff. Get
Well,
off the property.
okay, I'll call the sheriff.
You call.
Okay, I'll do
Get
that.
off the property now.
Well, good luck, because I called him first.
Don't you usually let
The sheriff serve
Yeah.
papers on somebody? Yeah.
Yeah, especially if you got a that's
He's not supposed to be in contact with him.
Jen, thank you for doing the lawyer's work. God bless you.
I mean, did that help him at all? His case, though, he's recording it.
No, I mean,
He's busy. Of course he is.
Of course he is.
That son of a bitch.
No, I mean that's again. Call the sheriff. They'll help you with that.
Again, this guy's trying to insert himself
And
as
then-
being cool.
Mr. McPherson, did you want to make any comments about that?
Yeah, that was the final time I tried to contact him. I went straight to Battleground Police Department. I just wanted you to see that. If I hadn't threatened their lives, that conversation wouldn't have went as calmly as it did. As soon as
Well, you knew you
his
were
mother got
recording it, you
agitated,
dummy.
I off the porch 10 seconds later.
Come on.
Which pretty much how the first three.
Mr.
contact
McPherson, are we
went.
supposed to think
No-
that you're so stupid you would
No
record
threatening or
yourself
nothing. That's all
threatening someone?
fabricated perjury.
Is that what we're
I
supposed
feel
to
it is.
think? Okay. All right. So father versus father, son versus son. Who takes out who? The Baker family versus the McPhersons. Go.
I'm going for the McPhersons here.
And they have a
They
video
win.
camera on their porch. They would have submitted that video if there was anything wrong going on.
Do you know the McPhersons or the Bakers, Jim?
We moved because of the McPhersons.
Yes.
They're a bunch of bullies.
Tasty treats with the 57-year-old living at mom's house in the basement. I like that.
Now in this video, I think you want the bottom one. The first one is
sausage
just
party.
a screenshot
Want
of
the
the
bottom.
Battleground Police Department's attempt
So let's
to
get this
serve
right.
him.
Mr. Baker's kids,
Second and the third one
kids
is me
being
trying
adult men,
to serve
beat
him,
up
but nobody
his
answered
daughter.
the door at Josh's house
And Mr.
or
Baker had a gun.
Mr.
A
Baker's
PPU,
mother's
excuse me?
house.
Is it?
The
I
fourth,
got-
the fourth one is the video of me at the Josh's place of business.
Is that
No.
so the one I have is a video attempt to serve Jasmine Baker.
Yes. Right.
Is that
That's
the
where I
one?
supposedly
Who's
walked through
wrong
with
the
it,
least?
threatened
That's what
everybody
it
that
comes
worked
down
there
to,
and
Chico.
customers. But
There
you'll see that
go.
that didn't happen.
There it go, everybody.
No, he wanted to get her riled up.
He's coming in there to fight.
Oh, there we go.
He hoping she would do something.
Round two. Another upside down video. So this is his place of business?
Yeah, own a coffee shop.
Good thing you didn't step on a dog on the way in.
Could have been bitten.
What's he doing? Just roaming around this place?
Looking for something to steal? What are we doing?
The second time around, you think you'd get it right this time?
What have we got? for
Was that
sale?
pot?
It's the weed.
It's the weed store.
His son owns a weed store. That's why we're suing him, Creed.
I don't know, Rock Def. It's weird. I've never seen the inside of a pot store before.
I may get a contact high from just watching this.
So the dude's got some money, I guess. I would imagine, maybe.
Creed, I've listened to this whole story, and if I could just take a second.
Yes.
If you can see here, this is the guy from earlier.
Uh-huh.
He's still on the stump with the paper, but
Right.
there is the McPherson daughter
Uh-huh.
being roundhouse kicked by the one son that owns the pot store, and there's the old man down there with the pew pew. This is as accurate as I could get it. I'm sorry, I was running on very few details today.
No, that's pretty good.
Could I buy some pot from you?
If you own a pot store, wouldn't you have like a giant pot plant in there instead of that really fake
Uh,
one you just had there?
And what's the point of this video so far? Just wondering, asking for a friend.
They have drugs there, Your Honor. Zigzags, half price. Buy one, get one free.
Anyway, thank you.
Is this the show that the McPhersons are God-fearing folk while the Bakers are nothing but heathens? As you see, I didn't threaten to kill the guy at all at his place of business.
I don't even think he's talked to anybody yet.
All I heard him say was, thank you.
Trying to serve her.
We just got some papers she needs to see.
Oh, this is the second time trying to give him papers.
Well, how about I give you one better? Can you confirm that she still lives on 84th? Do you know that
I'm
she's
doing my
been
best
involved
to
in
take
it?
this.
Oh, so
I
you
appreciate
went
the
down
love.
there.
You found out that
Now.
she's here and you're
Oh,
covering
here we
her.
go.
Okay, then you protect a woman beater because you don't want us serving that.
That's security.
That's the only way I can find her.
Do you think these guys know our friend Damon?
I don't need to leave. It's a public establishment. Okay, cool. You keep flipping me off. I'm gonna let everybody know that you protect a woman fucking beater.
Whoa!
You know she hit a 1-year-old kid too? Do you
Oh.
know that? A 1-year-old. A 1-year-old.
How
Her
old?
and Josh hit a 1-year-old. Then you don't get to come out and start fucking yelling at me, you fucking piece of shit. I wasn't
just
rude
missed
to you. I wasn't rude to you one time.
I'm trying to
I
block
asked
out
you
some of these
questions.
F words. My
You
God, she's
walked
going
back there,
crazy.
Found out who
Fine,
you
we're
were
all
because
adults.
she's here and you're fucking protecting her. That's why her car's outside.
I love when that's in court, by the way.
Well, Your Honor, as you see, that went smooth as silk as the last time.
Okay, tell me what I just saw.
Thank you, Jeff.
Well, that was the whole interaction at the dispensary where I was supposed to be threatening the employees and the customers there. As you saw, I just beg your pardon.
I'm sorry. I didn't hear you speaking much at all. Who was with you that was?
Well, that was my daughter-in-law.
Okay.
And she put a letter in there about that, but
Okay.
yeah, I mean that's I showed you that video because James Baker said I went down there and I was yelling and screaming and threatening the employees and
Well, you weren't.
customers there. And
There's that
as you
$2
see, I didn't
dono
do any of that.
down the stump.
It's another case of perjury. Their whole case has been,
He could have just thrown it down on the floor if he saw him, right?
Yeah,
they're trying to the synchronized fighting of these restraining orders. They're trying to eliminate the two men in the family that can be present when Jacob Baker's daughter is transferred from my daughter to him, because the whole
wow.
family thinks it's okay to beat on women, and they just want to deal with a vulnerable woman.
How does he let him keep saying that?
Yeah, like
It's been a month
objection
since I've had any contact with at Mr. Baker's house. Almost a month, excuse me.
Can we let them just fight
They
it out?
waited a month to file it and never did call the police.
Can you slide in one more that he likes to beat?
want me
The
to play
whole
the
family likes
videos
to beat
on
on
there?
women. Please.
It's just going to show me knocking on the door and leaving, so that's probably not necessary.
Okay.
Thank you.
Make sure before I
No.
put it away.
Greatest generation, my ass.
That'll be admitted, although I haven't played the other videos and I haven't looked at those.
Yeah, the judge hasn't said, but some judges are that way. They let everything play out. Let everybody do their thing.
Asses them
And
themselves.
she gets a little excited.
You think? A little excited? Did she talk like that before they beat her ass? That's my question. That'd be is my next question if I was the judge.
Anything else, Mr. Well, first of all, Mr. Daniel T. McPherson, anything you wanted to add? At this point?
Daniel J. Excuse me.
No,
Is that
I just want to reiterate that I never threatened anybody, and I wouldn't, because I know he's inside the house with a gun. It was just as calm as the video you saw when I
You
went
might
to
be right,
serve
Gigi.
him.
There might be some
They
connect.
didn't take the video that they have on their porch to submit it to you because it didn't happen. The dispensary has a full video. They didn't show you their video because it didn't show you what they want you to believe. It showed you a little screenshot of me pointing my finger, and all I said was, "Quit yelling at me."
Rock Dev, you can do that. What is that called?
So other than that, I
Curbside?
think I pretty much
Absolutely
covered everything I got.
You don't need.
It's probably like
So
small
far.
claims, but it's the small
Alright.
claim of beating up
And
somebody.
then, let's see, Mr. Jacob Baker, you said, did you have anything you wanted to add on this case?
Well, one thing, the reason why there wasn't no video is
They said
because
Jacob, not James.
It's a fake camera. I bought it at home.
Oh yeah, they did. Jacob
Harbor
hasn't said a
Freight,
word.
and
Jacob
put
tried
it up
to.
there to deter people, take stuff off my mother's
Yeah,
porch.
Go ahead, fake camera creep.
But to pick and choose, a couple videos, but just like his daughter-in-law Christian, I mean, this is the way we've been treated, and you've seen the text messages. I mean, this is
Baker
just
boys
went
beat up
on
the
and on and
McPherson
on.
daughter.
And we feel threatened. You know, that's why we're here. That's it.
The Bakers and the McPhersons are up here on Slap Mountain.
Yeah, so the stuff that I provided into my packet, it shows that on 210 that Daniel T. McPherson, the father, had called my work twice and had an encounter on the phone with my manager. And he was pretty much saying that he was going to come in and buy a drink, and we told him not to. He cannot come to my workplace. And then when he said that he was going to come by, he asked my manager, "Are you going to put hands on me?" My manager responded, "No, but we will call the police so they can handle it." And then his follow-up response was, "Is Jacob not allowed to fight me, or is he not man enough?" So I think that this just shows that there was intent of continuous harassment and provocation here, that they wanted to have an escalated altercation. And I just want to note that when I went to my DVO case between me and Brooke, I was awarded time with my daughter, and Commissioner Sasser said that Daniel McPherson and Kristen McPherson were going to be a third party for a mutual drop-off. But I let her know that we can't have that happen because of the altercation that's taken prior to all of this. And then it was still pursued and pushed that was court ordered. And then so being forward, yes, I would actually like if these two gentlemen not be there at
that's them, not me.
Between my daughter, because they are
Jacob
willing to escalate harm in jeopardy. So, you know, it just shows with the continuous evidence that we have here of him berating employees and also talking to other employees of workplace, going to other people's houses.
I wouldn't trust the McPherson.
They could have got a different party to serve the papers. They could have got the police department to serve the papers, but they decided that they were going to take it upon their own hands and use the court as a sword and a shield.
Look at you coming in sword and shield in hand.
Okay.
Okay, so he's the dad.
And Mr. Daniel J. McPherson.
The McPherson, he knocked out one of the
relevant
McPherson girls.
Regarding
Well,
Mr.
that
James
this boils
Baker,
down to.
Mr. Daniel T. McPherson.
Yeah, as far as the relevance between this particular case, I don't have much to add. Before we are done here today, I do have a couple of questions for you as far as this particular court order and some previous court orders that seem to be conflicting that I was supposed to bring up. My attorney asked me to ask about that today. So as far as these two cases goes, I wasn't there. I didn't witness any of it that they're talking about. So I don't really have anything to add.
Then why'd you come, Daniel J? You didn't see anything? You don't know anything?
All right, and
Thank you for your
then
contribution.
James Baker, any last comments? That you're the petitioner, you have the burden of proof, so that means you get the last word as well.
I would just ask that we have a 1 year no contact and just cool everything off. I mean, it's been ridiculous, and I mean, a lot of people are worried.
And that's why people shouldn't have children with people.
A lot of text messages, what is said, and he can pick and choose, you know, videos, but I'm telling you, there's intent to harm, and that's the way we feel.
He's there just a moral support for Dad.
Okay, so just addressing this one right now.
I give them credit for coming to court and not beating the out of everybody. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
So
fighting it out.
First, we'll address that. We'll talk about that first. So the
Uncle
first video we
Grandpa.
watched,
Uncle Grandpa.
to serve somebody with something, Mr. Baker.
I think that's pretty easy. Just put a whole
Tell Mr. Daniel
no contact from everybody, basically.
Yeah, and out, done.
Not completely inappropriate in that, and he didn't really say anything in the other video, but clearly the person he's with is there to breach the peace, and you know,
Owns
you can
the
have
other
a
pot
third
store in
party
town.
serve
Competing
documents,
pot.
legal documents, as
No
long as
idea.
that party's not a witness or a party. But they can't do it without causing issues. They shouldn't be serving documents. I personally would. I mean, I don't think
There it
This is sort of an aside, but I don't think there's anybody with the last name of McPherson or Baker should be serving any documents relating to anybody in this case, because clearly everyone has some high emotions about it, and you're just inviting conflict.
It's called baiting.
Yeah.
And then looking
Gaslighting.
really, in this case, I think the important thing to look at is these text messages from February 9th and 11th and February 17th. Potentially the voicemails, although there's some difference of opinion about what's actually in the voicemails or how many there are. So that's sort of a nebulous issue. But you look at the text messages, and
could be.
Got one from
Seemed to be all right when
9th.
she
You
answered the
ever
door.
get tired of being a spineless piece of shit and quit hiding in the closet behind your 90-year-old mother and your 80-year-old sister? You're an old man living with your mommy. You never amounted to anything, and your 2 sons that you raised to be cowards will never amount to anything. Either call me if you're man enough and we can meet somewhere of your choice, and yes, your pussy ass can bring help if you like. Goes on to say, really, you're not even going to respond to me calling you a spineless piece of shit. I guess I hit that motherfucker right on the head, didn't I? 2 days later, I hear you finally came out of your closet. Does this mean you're ready to take me in your mouth? And then on the 17th, hey pussy, I'm hanging out at the Silver Star Saloon on 4th Lane. You should come buy me a drink, sweetie.
Whoa, wow.
Where there was a hearing schedule in a related matter.
Okay.
So that's harassment. It's a course of conduct. It's clearly intended to cause emotional distress to a person. I mean, that's basically textbook harassment. I know it doesn't go on very long, but it goes on. There's multiple messages. There isn't a reply to any of them. Even setting aside any of the other nonsense that's going on. That's harassment. It just is. So I'm ordering it not to have any contact with James Baker. That's the only provision. No contact. I'll have it go for 1 year. Even if I didn't order it, I'd tell you don't have any contact with James Baker. It's a terrible idea. But now I'm ordering it as a legal matter not to have any contact with him directly or indirectly. So I'll go for 1 year. And we'll address the other matter on, I think we said, what we say, April.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
Matter. And just so I can get the right person on the orders, Mr. Daniel T. McPherson, would you be able to tell me what your date of birth is? So
Daniel T. is the one that sent those text messages.
That's 6/24/60.
Okay, thank you,
Mr. McPherson.
All right, so put that on there, and then.
But I was so calm in the videos, Your Honor.
Take me in your mouth.
So March 11th, 2023, of the expiration date.
He was waiting on that. He had all that evidence.
He's like,
He just
watch
let
your stupid ass videos.
Just let him go.
And then I'm gonna read
I
these.
don't need an email one if you don't have to send
that's
it.
fine. We'll mail it to you. And I'm not going to read it on the record, but not the whole thing. The address we have for you starts with 1002.
I heard you come out of the closet.
Mail that to you.
And by the way, you might be right because there's a 90-year-old in the house. So that's might be right.
No, I didn't plan on seeing him anyway, so it doesn't really. I guess I don't have to worry about him trying to come over to my house since he can't come towards me.
Give me the lovins I've been looking for.
For this, the authority I have. That being said,
I like turtles.
I mean, I don't think anybody with the last name Baker should be going to anybody with the last name McPherson's house. I realize you have some family.
It would be a good idea.
But I would implore you not to have contact with anybody.
I wasn't going to anyway. But,
I know. I'm going to
no,
say that to the other
I'm
folks
fine
as
with
well. Yeah. Okay.
I'm fine with the order.
Go back and watch it later, like I will be.
Mr. Daniel J. McPherson, you had a question. It sounds like it may be something I can't answer for you, but if you want to ask, you're certainly welcome to.
Sure. So prior to being served by Jacob Baker, there was an order put in by the court that my house was going to be the third party pickup drop-off spots. I don't know if and what. So these orders seem to be conflicting. It's my understanding that that's something that Jacob and Brooke both agreed to previously. And then 5 days later, he serves me with a restraining order. So I guess I'm not sure what, from my standpoint, what I'm supposed to do about this. He's got a daughter that's supposed to be picked up at my house, and he can't come within 300 feet of it.
Okay. Is there a McDonald's in the town?
Okay, cause number 22H ending in 43. The
Need the
temporary
parking
order
lot.
says orders Daniel J. McPherson to have no contact and not keep under surveillance and stay 300 feet away from the home of Jacob Baker.
I think they should meet in a public place that has like cameras and stuff.
You need to go to his house.
No, I don't. I certainly don't need to go to his house. He's supposed to pick up his daughter from my house. And I guess this is referring to 22-2-07248-06 that was issued, I believe, on February 25th.
Is Daniel an attorney?
Well,
Can Daniel speak up a little bit? I can't hear him.
Cause number.
Yeah, no,
and I have
he's got that
zero
stupid thing
involvement
around his neck.
in orders. So I couldn't even honestly.
You missed the doozy, Janet.
Tell you what it
Yeah,
means
you got to
because
go back,
that would-
Janet. This is
I don't even have these. It's not even my place to do that. All I can tell you is
Harassment
what's
court,
going
my
on.
new favorite place.
Nope, I understand. I just wanted to ask while we were here.
Yeah.
Ed. We've had a couple of good Fridays
As
in
I
a row, no
suspected,
doubt.
I was unable to answer your question, so sorry
Sure.
about that.
Not a problem.
We will pick up the rest of this on
There you go.
April 8th, and that concludes today's hearing. So thank you for your patience today while I figured out how to play little CDs on the computer here. So,
Yeah, thank you.
all right.
Boy, that
Thank you. See you next month.
that was pretty crazy. I love that the judge just let it roll out, let them say what they had to.
And then he just kicked him in the nuts with that.
I
last
mean,
thing.
that was just cut and dry. There's no more to say after that. That was that was crazy. Back to 3B and landlord tenant stuff.
Powder that was put into her apartment the most recent time, and that's why Rose couldn't go in there to spray because it would make everything all wet. But I do have it where
Judy
they went in
Winger.
and find
She's
dead
only
bodies
17.
in her unit, so
G unit.
we're just going off of what they had said. But I don't have the most current Rose document I have is from September, and I'm looking in her other file right now.
PayPal alert. PayPal alert.
I could have brought more, but I didn't.
It's a
PayPal
non-payment
alert.
of rent. And this whenever you've gone to Keystone, your rent with
Ashley, have a great weekend.
$1,786.77 through March. You've indicated you don't wish to move because you haven't got anywhere to go like everyone else.
Nancy.
To find other housing.
And
Also,
Bob sent over somebody too. Bob's not even here.
Oh,
right
Bob's not here. Hey, Chuck.
housing.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Nancy.
Taking the steps to go to Keystone. I'm going to continue this matter till April 11th, depending on your.
84 likes if you can. Please like this video right now so I don't have to ask you any more today.
Your Honor,
Just a minute.
Okay.
Will you be available on April 11th?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Can somebody clip that, please?
I wasn't sure who was talking to me.
All right, we're going to continue this to April 11th.
Judy smokes a carton a day, I think.
One.
Thank you, Vinny. She might just be a little burned out. I don't know. I need to hear her talk more.
All right, now, Ms. Loninger,
It's
I want
Friday,
you to
isn't it?
stay in contact
Feel free to pipe up anytime there, Judy.
with your manager. Apparently, they haven't had anybody to bug people there since September. That's September, October, November, December, January, February, March. That's 6 months ago, so I don't know what the status of that situation is.
Your Honor, they found bed bugs in my couch, and I had to pay.
Well, those are couch bugs, honey.
for them to take it out of here. and I got rid of everything. Yeah, they ate me up. That's why I had to sleep for 2 months in a row. I slept 2 nights in my car after I paid my rent, and they didn't care.
2 nights or 2 months?
2 nights.
She said both,
2 months
actually.
in a row.
Okay, well, do you want Keystone to pay your rent?
Well, I'd like for them to, yes, but
All right. Well, then
hey,
April
the
11th.
Rose guy, the sprayer, he did write down that he found bed bugs in my couch.
You stupid.
Okay, we'll address that further. To what? And it would be helpful. if
2
there
months,
was
2
an
nights.
inspection or some sort of attention to this, so we know what the circumstance is. But you stay in contact with Keystone. They're
Couch bugs.
paying your rent through March. May,
Them
as
scouts.
of May 1st, that money is going to run out. You're going to be responsible, I think, soon.
I paid it. I paid it this month because I just came back.
But can I get my 2 nights back?
Stay in contact with Keystone. I will see you April 11th.
I'd like credit for the 2 nights I slept in the car, please.
Is it their fault the couch has bugs?
All right, yeah, try to come on time.
Apparently, they brought them in with.
Back from Keystone and stuff.
Okay.
By the way, my favorite beer there, Judge.
If you have trouble connecting or something, you can come right here to the court. And I'll
Oh,
see you.
really?
Just take off all your clothes before you walk in the courtroom with your bed bugs and your couch bugs. Oh, she
Damn,
out.
she's out. Hard
Damn.
out.
Whew.
Hard out by Judy.
But the money is Keystone's.
He was
So-
drunk as a skunk.
You're out. All right, I'll see everybody on April 11th.
Okay, thank you.
Except for Judy, because she already left. She don't.
Thank you, sir.
She got places to be and people to see.
Yeah.
All right, wonderful.
She's got 2 months of sleeping in her car. I mean, 2 days.
Mr. Hill.
Hello, Kate.
Present and
All
accounted
right,
for.
our next case, as I said, is a termination of tenancy for Mr. Hamilton.
Mhm.
And there's no on to that. Let me see how our calendar looks.
They ate me slap up, Your Honor.
Already.
Just a sec.
Hey, Ollie.
It's like Mondays. There's only 4 of them.
Thank you, T. Oh, thank you, Ollie.
Oh, thank you, Ollie.
Yeah.
Is that short for Oliver?
He being gone on vacation.
Perhaps.
Well,
No,
once the money
you're
runs
welcome.
out, I don't know if we're gonna start to see a bunch more. I have my fears about what's gonna
Looks like
happen.
they ain't got
Watch
going
where I
on.
was going. Watch
What?
what I was
You
doing.
got here.
Stay away from her daughter.
Still going?
More
no,
new
you-
And
harassment
it's just
case.
very. I'm afraid to be in battleground. If my husband's not with me,
That's a game.
I'm not comfortable to go anywhere.
Mrs. Julia
I feel like I'm always looking over my shoulder,
Huntsinger.
not knowing if she's going to be somewhere.
After what we've heard come out of this judge's mouth, that's fine.
You live in Clickitat County now, is that right?
Where
Yes,
county?
By the way, Michael looks like
Yeah.
an asshole.
I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
No, go ahead. I think you might have been in.
Oh, we have business in Battleground, and I do take my school up there.
I guess he's
And
defending
so
that young lady.
Between
Mhm.
20, I think you said 29, somewhere in 2019, 2020, you had basically
Look at that pocket
3 or
square, son.
4
It's pretty big.
negative encounters, I'll call them, with the
Massive.
So I
respondent.
thought that harassment court was like just one thing,
Does
but
that
this is
sound about
like
right?
a real thing. Then
Yes, sir.
I'm
And
this
did
is great.
were each of these regarding like a child exchange?
You can return them? Who knew that?
Yes,
That's
not the last one though.
Nobody told me about
Uh,
that.
Oh, not the restaurant picture taking kind of thing.
I'm guessing Michigan, Battleground, Michigan. Does that sound right?
There's Battle Creek.
Battle Creek.
What kind of
This is
like
Clark
have you had
County
communications with her?
District Court, Washington.
Oh, that's
regularly,
right.
Or do you just never talk to her and
'Cause
just
we were
all of a
just here
sudden you get
together.
this?
Mm-hmm. This is Judge Potty Mouth.
She
They've been harassed.
confronts you with various things.
Yes, I do not talk to her.
She called me the C word, Your Honor.
We'll take it, Mayor.
Do you know the months maybe of when these things happened in 2019 and 2020?
I know one instant was in May.
Nice, Drake.
The-
Got it. Thank you.
Yes, I
the-
can't wait
The
to see it.
other, I would have to go back and
Okay.
look.
That's fine. Do you know which
We're a
one
little
was in
slow,
May?
Jen.
Yes, the one where she came through the house.
Come through her house?
Why is Michael so agitated?
That was the first one I think you listed in your. Was that
Objection,
Right.
Your Honor.
Yes.
Objection.
And the most recent, I guess, in-person encounter was this. That was in Hillsborough. Is that right? With the basketball game.
Yes.
And then the
Was Haley at
attached
this
to your
basketball game?
petition was a text message, and maybe it's just because it didn't scan very well, but I can read it. But who is that to and from?
That was a text to her daughter and Jerry's daughter, Lacey.
How embarrassing that they both wore white today.
Was that from you or between the two of you?
Yes.
Okay, I got you. And so you're, and I say this just to make sure I know who's sending it. So you're the person sending the on the side that says, hopefully that's all, and then I'm sorry you feel I don't do enough, etc.
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you. And was that
The lady on top
after
is
the
such a bitch.
basketball
She had to
game
get somebody to talk for her.
No, that was right before. That's what
That's
started.
look a
the
little more
basketball
guilty, doesn't
incident.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, I got you. Thank you.
She feels guilty about it. Which one of these women are going to cry first? Try and pull on the judge's heartstrings.
I don't think it's physically possible for the top one too, with the way that her eyebrows are. It would look really weird.
They're very agitated.
Anything else you wanted to add?
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
Nah, we good.
Let's see, Mr. Rowe, did you have any questions for Ms. Hunsinger?
I do have some questions for Ms. Hunsinger, Your Honor. if you
Oh,
don't
here we
mind.
go.
Ms. Hunsinger, do you have any written documentation where you've indicated to my client that you don't wish to have contact with her?
Sir, every time I try to say anything to her, she gets very angry.
Ma'am, my question was, do you have any written communication to my client that you don't wish to have any contact with her?
No, I cannot contact her because she cannot stay and talk like adults.
I have.
So you've never
It's
had
right
an
here.
adult conversation with her, is that correct?
No, sir, she always starts yelling.
Did you ever have an adult text message exchange with her?
An adult? What do you
One
mean?
time when her son was sick.
The
And
sex.
was that on Friday, November 26th at approximately 10:05 a.m.?
I believe so. I would have to go back and look.
Okay, was she asking you, please don't give one of the children Tylenol if his stomach's upset, that'll make him feel sicker? And did she ask you, can you please get him some 7-Up and soda crackers?
Thank you, T.
Yes.
Did you respond that
7-Up and
as
soda crackers.
Jerry wanted him to have some Tylenol for his head, so he got a little? Her response was, is he running a fever? If Colt can't hold down food, that medicine isn't good on an empty stomach. Your response being, he has no fever and has been working on eating. Her reply to that was K, and then thank you for taking care of him. Do you recall that?
Yes, sir.
And did you reply that you're welcome? I hate it when they aren't feeling well. And her response to you was, me either. I feel so bad for him. And you said, me too. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, and the remainder of your conversation with her via text was very polite, wasn't it?
At that instant, yes, it was about her son.
Okay, so you do have her
Son's best
cellular
interest at heart.
telephone number, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Have you sent her a text message saying, look, I find this conduct to be unacceptable, please don't contact me?
Nope.
Right? You don't have any recordings or any other evidence of her acting inappropriately, do you? Or what you consider to be inappropriate?
She sends my husband text messages constantly
Well, they have children in common, is that
Check
right?
out my vajayjay.
about me, sir.
Okay. Are you aware that your husband pays my client $4,500 a month in spousal maintenance and is required to do so for the next 4 years?
Yes, sir.
And that's a point of consternation between your husband and my client, is that right?
That's a lot of money.
Yes?
Yes, sir.
And are you also aware that your husband has texted my client that she better get her boyfriend's checkbook out because things aren't going to be the same anymore? Are you aware of that?
No, sir.
Are you
Who
aware
has a
that your
checkbook
husband's made
anymore?
similar types of
She dating
threatening
an 80-year-old?
communications to my client
4
immediately prior to the February 27th basketball game?
No.
At this basketball game, ma'am, were you present first, or was my client present first?
Kimberly.
Okay, where was she seated?
I don't know, sir. I didn't see her until we sat down.
Okay, so you came in after she did. Did you see where any of the children were sitting?
They came up to us and my husband, and I followed them to go sit down.
Okay, and did the children sit immediately behind you?
Lila was off playing with a friend and Cody sat in one row behind us.
Okay, and are you aware his mother was directly behind him?
Mikey
Not
man.
until I turned around and saw her.
And did she say anything rude to you or nasty to you while you were seated?
Not while we were seated, no.
Did you say anything to her?
No. I smiled at her politely.
Did you feel uncomfortable sitting there with your back turned to her?
Yes, very.
Did you get up and move?
No.
She
I was
shouted out,
trying
"Does
not to make it
anybody smell
uncomfortable for
fish?"
everybody else.
Okay, and you really haven't had much communication with my client ever, other than an occasional polite text message, other than your contention on February 27th that she may have said something inappropriate to you. Is that also correct?
No, I have not had any other contact with her.
What does her husband do for a living?
I would love to know.
YouTuber.
Are you seeing any professional for mental health treatment?
Great question.
Objection, relevance.
I was about to say the
Yeah, she don't like
exact
that.
same thing.
One of the issues in the case.
In other
Your
words,
Honor,
she
is any of this alleged
Do you currently have a
communication
yeast
causes
infection
any
right
type
now?
of harm emotionally. Do you feel emotionally harmed by anything that my client did?
Objection overruled. You can answer the question.
Well, I'm sorry, what was that?
Are you
Well, I
suffering?
think- Go ahead, Mr. Rowe, sorry.
Are you suffering emotionally?
I'm very concerned when I am in town, yes.
She's scared of
And how often are you in town?
Spit it out.
Every other week.
Are you aware that my client's significant other is the basketball coach for one of the children?
No.
Do you know who Clayton is?
Yes.
Who's that?
Her boyfriend.
Okay, have you seen him?
Clayton
at
Delaney,
any
he
basketball
died.
games?
I saw him there on February 27th.
Did you see him on the sidelines?
Yeah.
Okay, did he appear to be coaching to you?
Go get it.
I just saw him sitting in a chair. I don't follow sports, so
How many people were at this basketball game?
I don't know, quite a few.
Okay, would you estimate there'd be more than 50 people there?
Probably around 50, I guess.
Okay, and how many rows of chairs or bleachers were there? 4 rows, is that correct?
Sir, I didn't sit there and count people, and I did not count benches.
Only
I was
bitches,
uncomfortable
and
when
that
I
was
walked
your
in
client.
because there's always a confrontation with Kimberly, and I just sat down and patiently waited to leave.
She looks like a Kimberly.
Don't be rude.
You
Kimberly.
referenced an event in 2019 where my client entered a home. Is that right?
Yes,
Okay, that was her home, wasn't it?
she was moved out.
Okay, are you aware did she speak to you that day?
That used to be her house.
Well, she
remember?
ran and speak through everybody. She was throwing things and yelling.
So my question to you, ma'am, and I'd appreciate if you could answer it, is did she speak to you that day?
Who cheated
Yeah,
on
she
who,
did.
by the way?
Okay, what did you say to her?
She said something nasty, and I just sat there and didn't acknowledge it.
And how long prior to that had she and her husband separated?
Couple months.
Okay, and did you move into that home?
No,
Okay, so it wasn't your home, correct?
no.
Are you aware that it was my client's home as well as your current husband's home?
I knew that she had moved out.
Okay, and she
and
had things,
no place to live. Yes,
you're aware that she still had items of personal property in the home, is that right?
And my understanding, she went
no, I
back to
did
the
not
act.
see anything of hers in the home.
Okay, did she remove things from the home when she was there?
She went to go
No,
get some of
she
her
just threw
stuff,
things
and a
around.
confrontation ensued between the new lady of the house, who hadn't moved in yet, though. Just be clear. She didn't jump right in her grave.
Are you
She
aware
just
that
kind of fell
your
into it.
husband is obligated by an order of child support to provide health insurance for the children?
Yes,
And my client's entitled to have communication with the insured to confirm the existence of that insurance? Are you aware of that?
yes.
What does that have to do with anything?
How much does the child support?
Your Honor, I have
10K?
no further questions for Ms. Huntsinger, and I'd renew my motion to dismiss.
They're both drinking a beer at the bar.
Oh, he removes his motion to dismiss.
Motion's denied. Well, I'll address it on the merits. Though.
Oh,
Very good, Your Honor.
So,
shot that. Shit down.
let's see. Ms. Huntsinger, I'm sorry to run you through the ringer. I just had a couple questions based on Mr. Rowe's questions for you. Or I thought I did. Maybe you actually answered all my questions. Let me see here.
Do you know that your husband has nudes of Miss Kimberly on her phone still to this day?
Actually, I don't think I had any other questions. But Ms. Huntsinger, is there anything you wanted to follow up with, having been asked all these questions from Mr. Rowe? You're welcome to. If there's anything else you think would be relevant for the court to know, you're welcome to add to whatever you answered or explain anything you'd like to add.
Just they really pinpointed that I don't communicate with her. Well, Your Honor, if you read some of the texts that she sends my husband, you wouldn't communicate with her either.
Nope. Here come the tears. Here they
I've
come.
tried to
Here they
stay
come.
away from her for this
There it
reason.
is.
I've
Told
tried
you.
to make sure there's no conflicts, and she seeks them out. And I honestly can't tell you, with the pictures she's taken and with somebody taking pictures in a restaurant of us, I don't know if I'm being followed.
Okay.
Well,
That's
whoever
all.
guessed her won.
Right on cue.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Mr. Rowe,
Kimberly's
did you
got
have
such
any-
a
did
big
your
mouth
client
she
get
can't even
offering
talk.
testimony?
And she is, Your Honor. If you believe it necessary, I'm gonna take her through each of the allegations.
Sure. I'm not
Please do.
dismissing it just based on the like a
Let's
halftime
hear 'em.
motion. So if you'd like to go ahead.
No dismiss.
Thank you, Your Honor. Is it okay if I call you by your first name?
Yes,
Oh, that's
it is.
right. I'll just call you Miss Archer.
How about this?
Miss Archer,
hot
you know
thing?
Miss Huntsinger,
Yes,
and her relationship to you is that she's your ex-husband's current wife. Is that correct?
yes,
And you have children with Mr. Huntsinger?
yes.
How many children do you have? And
We have 4 children.
what are their names and ages, please?
So Lacey is 18, Cody is 15, Holt is 10, and Lila just turned 8.
So they were married a long time.
And are you the primary residential parent of your children?
Yes, I am.
And there's a parenting plan in place with respect to those children, is that right?
Yes, there is.
And your ex-husband, Mr. Huntsinger, he's obligated to pay you child support and spousal maintenance, is that right?
Yes, he is.
Is he obligated to pay you spousal maintenance for approximately the next 4 years?
Yes.
And has he had any negative sorts of comments to you within the last few months about that?
Yes, very many.
Okay, and
So
can you
this
describe
that's
for the
just
court generally
spousal
what they're
support,
like?
not even child support.
He's constantly threatening me
Separate.
to drop the alimony because he wants to be able to build indoor riding arenas and things like that for his new wife. That he wants, that things are going to change very fast. That if I was a good person, I would let him go of the money. That just negative things on wanting to take it away from me, and that he just doesn't want to pay it anymore and I don't deserve it, and that things are going to change in the near future. Just wait and see.
Turning now to the specific types of allegations that Ms. Huntsinger has made towards you.
That's all
Did you
hearsay.
see Julia Huntsinger on February 27th of
That was an indoor
2022 in
ride arena.
Hillsboro, Oregon at a basketball game?
Yes, I did.
And were any of your children competing in that?
Yes, my son Colt, that's 10 years old, was playing basketball that day.
At the event, is it true that you appeared and were there prior to the time Ms. Huntsinger arrived?
Yes, it was Colt's second game. And so we'd already been there watching his first game that they were not there for. And I was sitting in the bleachers before they arrived.
How long were you there prior to the time you first noticed Miss Hunsinger?
I was there probably for about 3 hours.
Okay. And
How many cigarettes did you go out for?
when she walked in, do you know if she looked in your direction?
Eye roll from Julie.
She looked right at me because she came right in and sat right below me because my son Cody was sitting 2 steps down from me, and she and Jerry, her husband, my ex-husband, walked in. They looked directly at me and sat down right in front of my son Cody. And she turned right around and looked at me.
Did she have conversations with Cody, who was directly between you and her?
Yes,
During
the whole game, I didn't even see them really watching the game because they were talking to Cody the whole time, turned around facing towards me, showing Cody things on her phone and talking to Cody during the whole entire game.
Now, you heard the text message exchange that Miss Hunsinger acknowledged. Was that accurate?
With Lacey?
Yeah, no, not with Lacey, between you and she.
Oh, on November 26th?
Yes.
Yes, that was accurate.
All right. And were you polite to her?
Very polite.
On
If I may
the,
interrupt, I'm sorry, Mr. Rowe, just a point of clarification. November 26th, was that of what year was that? 21?
21, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you.
Could be, Nancy. That's
And
true.
had you had regular text
Yeah.
communications with Miss Hunsinger?
No, that was the first day I've ever had a text message with her, and it was just about my son being sick.
How about telephone calls and communication? Anything like that?
Never talked to her.
Smoke signal,
Now,
satellite communication, walkie-talkie, CB.
other than that text message, you indicated that you've never sent her any other text message, or you don't recall sending her any other text messages?
I don't recall sending her any other text messages.
Okay, did she at any time prior to her obtaining this temporary order of protection indicate to you that, look, I don't want to talk to you, I don't want to hear from you, leave me alone?
No, she showed up at many different other events around me, sitting right in front of me, around my kids, and I've never had any conversation with her.
Now, you say many other events. What type of events are you talking about?
In 2019, my son Cody was playing football and Jerry was coaching his team, which is my ex-husband. And she showed up sitting front row at the games, at the practices, at the conditioning, at all of the sports events before our divorce was even final. And I was around her cordially, never talked to her.
At least there's no bitterness between these two ladies.
That's right.
So on February 27th, she makes very specific allegations of things that she claims you said to her. And we've reviewed those together. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. I'm gonna quote, Your Honor, from the petition. Kimberly Archer came up to me after the basketball game and threatened me over a text where I had apologized to her daughter for not being able to ride her siblings' horses that they kept at our house. She looked right at my husband and I and said, quote, "You need to watch what you say to my daughter, and you need to watch yourself," close quote. Did you say those things to Ms. Hunsinger?
No, I did not.
Have you
Yeah,
ever
it's all
said anything
scripted for
like
her.
that to Ms. Hunsinger?
No, I said, the only thing I said is I said her name and I just said, watch what you say to Lacey in text because you're ruining your relationship with her and you made her cry. And she was extremely upset and called me and she is having a really tough time with you. So please don't hurt
Sure,
her.
just
Don't
like that.
send her hurtful texts or say hurtful things to her. And she looked right at me and said, "I'm not afraid of you." And I said to her, "You have no reason to be afraid of me. I'm just asking you to be nice to Lacey."
She's like, you better be.
Is that all you've ever wanted and hoped for, was that to have a step parent be kind to your children?
Yes, that's all I want is just her to be a wonderful stepmom to my 4 children for when they go into their care. So my kids are happy.
Now, your children have, is it every other weekend with your husband?
Yes,
Ex-husband?
every
Sorry.
other weekend.
And they're not obligated to go if they don't want to.
They
are
do not have to go if they do not want to go.
In fact, there's a special provision in your parenting plan that says that they don't have to go. Is that right?
Why is there only
Correct.
one coat in that
Have
closet?
you ever seen that in any other parenting plans?
No.
They got
And
so much
have
money.
you
Creed, they
encouraged the
got
children to
closets
always
just
go
for
with their
one
father?
coat.
Yes, I have encouraged them. My 8-year-old that is now 8 breaks down in tears every single time it's time to go. And I her dad and with Julia, because I want them to have a wonderful relationship with them
refresh?
because it's hard to send
Yeah,
my
I saw
kids
that.
off when they're
Like
upset
Subway?
and crying. I want them to go and have a great time and to build a relationship. And so, yes, I 100%, I support.
It is. There's the kids part of this that is
Ms.
sad.
Hunsinger then went on to say,
Absolutely.
Kimberly proceeded to say, quote, watch yourself, quote, watch where you're going and what
Shake your ass. Watch yourself.
you're doing, as she walked away. Did you say those things?
No.
After you had that exchange with Ms. Hunsinger, where you asked her to be nice to your daughter, did she appear upset or in any way excited or annoyed by the conversation?
The only time she appeared upset is when she looked at me and her face got red and she said, I'm not afraid of you. And it caught me off guard because I replied, you have no reason to be afraid of me, because she does not.
Okay. In paragraph 5B, she talks about one afternoon, which
Why you bullying me? You fuck.
Jerry and I were getting ready to go to lunch, and Kimberly announced, uninvited, came into the house and banged on the door and was yelling.
Banged on
Are you
what?
familiar with an incident where you came to your home
Knocking on the door,
in
dude.
2019?
Yes, we had been separated for 6 days. And I came home to my house where my horses and my dogs were and my belongings were, and there was padlocks around. I went in and saw her in my house with all of my things in my home.
All right. Hold
Did
on.
he cheat? I think he's cheating.
6 days.
6 days.
6 days of being separated. She comes back. All the locks are changed, padlocks and everything, and another woman already in the house. This smells
Yeah, so I think there was a relationship there for a little bit.
a little bit maybe.
And did you talk to her at that time?
I did not talk to her. She was sitting in the house in the island in the very center of the house and stayed sitting at the island and on a stool.
She almost has to cry, right?
No,
To
she
get
didn't
it
talk
out?
to me.
I mean, she's
Did
got to
you
get
break
it.
things
Yeah.
and throw things around?
No, I said, I want to get some of my things. And my ex-husband said, I'm going to call the cops. You don't get to take anything.
Okay, did you take anything?
He finally said, you can take your bowling ball. And that's what I got to take, is a bowling ball and
That's
a
nice.
picture. And then I ended up leaving because he did call the police.
Well,
a picture of the
when he
bowling
called the
ball?
police,
I mean,
was he
let's
careful?
face it, it is a nice
Or he
bowl.
just wanted you to leave?
He just wanted me to leave because my kids didn't even know about Julia. And it was a completely upsetting situation because we were not at that moment filing for divorce. We were just separated, trying to work on our marriage.
I think he was working on something else.
And
I think
to your
it was-
knowledge, was Miss Hunsinger
If
married to somebody else? at
One
that
of them
time?
knew it was over already.
I didn't know anything about her.
Okay.
I know that she
One
was
of
a
the most
client of Jerry's
entertaining
is all
ones
I
I've
knew.
seen in a while, though.
Oh, a
She
client
alleges
of
another
Jerry's.
instance, which she doesn't identify a date for. The kids were being dropped off at your home.
Chiropractor?
You came to the car window, pounding on it and yelling profanity at Miss Hunsinger for no reason.
Dr.
Did that occur?
Jerry Huntzinger.
It did not occur. They never
Chiropractor.
even stop in front of the house. They park down the road when they pick up my kids to where my kids have to walk down the road to the car.
How far down the road do they have to walk?
I don't know because I don't even go outside to see where they are. I just make sure my older child is with the kids and I just tell them goodbye and then I
Older,
kind of just let
obviously.
them walk around the corner to leave.
Her next allegation is that, again, an undefined specified date, that you ran up to the truck when
Oh,
we
yeah,
were
she was
returning the kids
cussing
to
and
her after
fussing.
the
You know
weekend
that,
visit and
Tim.
took pictures of my son and I sitting in the car.
There were,
Do you know what she's talking about?
I do know what she's talking about. And there was one picture that I took from a distance of her in my Chevy Dually at the very beginning. of
Ah, she
our
got a dually.
separation. And it was for court, it was for purposes with my lawyer to find out who was in my truck.
Who was in my
And
dually?
so I took the picture as a witness and gave that picture to my lawyer to see who was in my truck.
No, I was your lawyer at that time. is that
Yes,
right?
Mike. Yes, Mr. Rowe.
Did you scream and
Oh,
yell?
Mike.
No, not at Julia.
Did you scream and yell at anybody?
No, no.
Oh, never.
She indicates in 2021.
Did she
again,
take
an
a huge
unspecified
dump
date,
on the hood of
you
the
asked to
dually?
drop the kids off later than we'd planned, but when we returned the kids around 9 p.m., she started screaming at us when she came out in the yard. We remained in the car and drove off. She followed us down and around her house, screaming and yelling foul language. Is that true?
That is not true.
Do you ever chase them in a car anywhere?
I have never chased them on foot or anything ever.
Sure.
Which indicates that you contacted an insurance company. Is that right?
It was the auto insurance company for my daughter that's 18 years old because my daughter said to me, do you think dad's going to cancel my insurance? And I was worried that she would be out on the road without insurance. When I talked to the insurance gal, which is someone that I know from previous of having my insurance with her when I was married to Jerry, I specifically said, I'm not asking for any personal details. I'm not asking for anything. The only thing I need to know is if Lacey's insurance was dropped, because if it is, I need to go get insurance for her because I don't want her driving on the road without auto insurance. And the gal told me, I can't give you any information. I can just tell you there was no changes in the policy. And I said, okay, so then she hopefully has insurance. And then she says, I have to tell Jerry that you called, which is my ex-husband. And I said, that's totally fine. I just want to make sure
Jerry,
that my 18-year-old daughter's insurance is not canceled.
Even after she's commenced this proceeding against you, do you have any harsh feelings towards Ms. Hunsinger?
I don't have any harsh feelings. I just want everybody to get along and my kids to be happy.
That's all I've ever wanted.
Do it. Start crying. I mean, are we all missing the fact that they're all suckling from Jerry's teeth?
Just one second here. I'm reviewing my notes, so it should be very quick.
I don't know.
Jerry's got to be a chiropractor or something crazy.
I don't know if everybody's lying. They might just all be spilling the beans.
If the children are ill during Mr. Hunsinger's residential time, has that occurred before?
Yes, it has.
And is Mr. Hunsinger home with the kids typically?
No, and that's the hard part for me because even when I'm trying to talk to Jerry, it's hard when my kids to communicate with my kids when they're not with me. But Jerry leaves them with Julia or Julia's mom Della or stepdad Ron, and I have no way to communicate with my kids if they're not on their gizmo watches or have their cell phone.
What?
And while he was sick during that time, I was just trying to communicate for my son.
Rich people.
And they live in a rural location in Goldendale, Washington. Is that right?
Yes.
You don't even know the address, do you?
Never been there and don't even know the address.
I mean, I've driven by it 50 times a night.
Yes.
Have you ever harassed Ms.
Killed a
Hunsinger?
cat and put it on the
Never.
front doorstep one
Are
time.
you requesting the court dismiss her petition?
Yes, I am.
You've incurred just today waiting here over $1,000 in attorney's fees. Is that right?
A Gizmo watch is a
You requesting that you receive an award of attorney's fees against Ms. Hunsinger for having to respond to this matter?
Yes.
$10,000 in court.
When was your divorce final with Mr.
Jump
Hunsinger?
change.
November 12th, 2019.
In her petition, she claims that she moved to Goldendale to get away from you.
hmm
Is that right?
No, it's not right.
No, do you recall her saying that?
No.
In her petition, do you
Oh,
recall
I'm sorry.
her
Yes,
saying?
in the petition. I thought you meant conversation with me.
Are you aware why they moved to Goldendale?
Yes, I am aware.
Why did they move to Goldendale?
They lived in Toledo and their house that they were living in, they were
Seinfeld.
renting. It went up for sale, so they had to move. And I have had conversation with my ex-husband and begged him not to move away because I
Jerry,
want him
my
to
gosh,
have a life with the kids and told him it's going to be very hard. And he said he wants to move to Goldendale because it's cheaper property. And his wife, Julia Hunsinger, is a barrel racer and they own 19 horses and they need more property for all of their horses. So he has to move to Goldendale because they can afford property there.
That's a lot
I
of
begged
money.
him not to move.
Thank you, Ms. Hunsinger. I don't have any, excuse me. That's how I previously knew her, Judge. I apologize for that. Sorry, Ms. Archer. I have nothing further.
Oh, that's fine. Okay.
Sorry,
and
Ms.
then
Archer.
Ms. Hunsinger, anything that you feel like you'd like to follow up with after hearing what Ms. Archer has said?
19 horses.
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
Oh, they're
she's
kissing.
She's a barrel racer. Put your tongue in me.
Mr.
Now.
Rowe,
Come on.
any, I guess, argument then?
Your Honor, I don't believe she's met her burden of proof to establish that unlawful harassment has occurred. There's been no communication to my client that.
All right, here's the thing. Do they make Julia pay for
unnecessary?
Mrs.
There's been no
Archer's
showing that
attorney?
she's incurred any type of emotional distress and a reasonable person wouldn't have done that. In fact, one of the course of conduct definitions by statute is there any statutory authority that allows my client to communicate with her? And of course, the parenting plan requires my client communicate with her husband. It seems reasonable to assume that if he's entrusted the care to his wife, that my client could, on occasion, communicate with Ms. Hunsinger concerning the health, safety, and welfare of the party's children. They are in her
Gotta at
primary
least have that
residential
line
care.
of communication.
Yeah, you
My
would
client has
think.
done
Gotta
nothing
have
to
some
warrant
sort of-
this. We believe
when the
it's
kids are
just
there.
posturing and an attempt to force Ms. Archer to relinquish her spousal maintenance that the court has already entered. In fact, there's a separation contract that makes that spousal maintenance non-modifiable. So I think his efforts towards that are reflected in this issue. She's presented no testimony from any third party who overheard any part of any conversation.
Yeah,
that any
Julie.
type of threat or intimidation occurred whatsoever. And we request the court deny the petition. Thank you.
That's why I don't know about it.
All right.
Everybody wants Jerry sloppy seconds.
Wouldn't you?
So
For
having
that
heard
kind
the
of money.
testimony of both parties and reading over the petition, I mean, clearly there was some kind of confrontation February 27th in Hillsborough at the basketball game, sort of two different views about what happened, as well as some other things happening previous to that. I think it's pretty clear that this May 2019 incident at the home would not be something that would be part of any sort of course of conduct related to harassment.
Vinny
And
Stone.
the rest of the
Love it.
Parts of what might be a course of conduct, frankly, there's just not a lot of detail about it between 2019 and 2020, and that's okay. I mean, I'm not faulting Ms. Hunsinger for not having enough detail on days and dates and times, that sort of thing. Normally people aren't going to be keeping track of that because you probably don't expect that to happen, and you don't expect it to happen again. So, you know, the fact that you don't have detail on that is not dispositive. We never really talked about this thing about this restaurant and taking pictures allegedly at the restaurant, and then getting some follow-up email or text to Ms. Hunsinger's or Ms. Archer's ex-husband about where to take Ms. Hunsinger to a restaurant. Anyway, I'll just get to the point. I don't think there's enough evidence for me to enter a protection order, especially hearing the testimony from the respondent, who I think came across as very credible.
Miss Archer's going to win.
So I'm not going to enter an order. I don't think the petitioners met her burden of proof with regard to costs.
Uh-oh, here we go.
In this particular action, there is some case law indicating that the respondent basically is not entitled to costs, even if the respondent is the prevailing party. It's Emerson v. Wyla. If anyone needs it, it's 126 Washat 930. I think, I mean, arguably, you could certainly, I think there are other ways. I think at some point, if someone's petition is so specious as to be deserving of some sort of sanction, I think probably one could maybe find a way to enter costs. I don't.
Maybe that's
find
like
that
egregious
here. I think probably Ms. Hunsinger's perspective of what's happening is what she put on her petition.
Miss Hunsinger's a real scaredy cat.
Misleading or anything like that. So I'm not going to work costs.
Almost had a third chase, by the way.
Case, although,
Yeah.
I am
Very
dismissing
close to
the
having the third one last night.
Your Honor, we appreciate your time. Thank you for your consideration.
Okay. Thank you. And thank you for your patience today. I'm sorry that took a while to get to your case this morning.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Julia, you lose, babe.
Yeah.
Send,
You lose. You snooze, you lose, and Creed.
Look at that for timing. Right
That
at the
is-
2-hour mark in 30 seconds.
Right. That's it for today. We covered a lot on We Got a Case today.
We really did. That one was good and very interesting, but I still like when the lawyer had to read out all those texts. That I didn't see coming.
Harassment court is
At all.
definitely good. I
like
like that.
harassment court.
We didn't get the judge's name, but
I am a fan for sure. I wonder if they do that every Friday.
I hope
Interesting. Great crowd, over 100 almost the entire time. Love that. Love to see it keep growing, and that's why we're here with you 2 hours and not just one for We Got a Case.
That's right. We appreciate that. If you're over on Facebook, please share this out. There's no court being streamed over on Facebook. So this will be the only place people can find that. Like this video, if you enjoy this kind of stuff, we have we got a case channel launching next week where you'll be able to just keep up with cases 5 days a week over there.
Hey, Mayor reminded me, U-Hauls today for We Got a Chase. Gonna be a good one.
Yeah, some of I'm gonna say 90% of these I've never seen before yesterday. So these are some doozies.
Nice.
It's a doozy, dude.
All right. And don't forget 6 o'clock, members only. Still got a chance. Click the join button on the main channel, Created Some Bishop Show on the YouTube. Yeah, that was a lot of fun today. I mean, that's a couple good cases there.
We're learning a little bit here and there.
Yeah, I like that. Lots of fun. All right, guys. See you at 4:05. That is next. And again, members only at 6. If we don't see you, have an awesome weekend.
And if we don't see you, why don't we? Why aren't you coming back? What's wrong with you? Until next time, please remember.
I always love these when I know that I'm going to go back and watch something. That's what I always know. It's pretty good.
That was a good one.